Alrighty, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Sunday morning live stream for Week 13 of the 2025 fantasy football season. For over the course of the next 3 hours, we're talking all things fantasy football in regards to setting our lineups for Week 13. As of course, many of us are getting one step closer to trying to capture a victory this week and get into the fantasy playoffs. Again, fantasy playoffs begin in Week 15. So we've got 2 more matchups ahead to prove that our teams are worth it to get into the dance and try to make a run for the big one. Hope you guys are doing well on this wonderful Sunday. Again, as you guys know, we're here to answer questions via you guys in the chat, whether it is via live chat, whether it is via super chat, whichever way you guys want to send in your question to claim priority. Make sure you include your scoring format. The more context you provide, the easier it'll be for myself and, of course, other members of this community to help answer your questions. Again, in order to answer your guys' questions, because again, there are many of you and one of me over the course of the next 3 hours, I've gone ahead and I've presented rankings on screen like I do every single Sunday morning to the right side, based on, of course, updated rankings, removing all players in games that have already been played. So for any of the 8 teams who have already participated in games on Thursday or Friday, I've gone ahead and removed those players to present as many rankings as I can over the course of today. So we have our top 36 running backs and wide receivers, top 12 kickers and defenses, and top 16 tight ends and quarterbacks. Now, if you guys want all-encompassing rankings, like I've told you guys before, for those of you guys who go ahead and sign up via Betr, those are available every single Sunday morning. So those have been sent out for those of you who have gone ahead, made that sign up using code Andrew, made that first time deposit and that first time play. And then additionally, for those of you guys who have checked out the Patreon, those rankings have already been posted and are available every Thursday and Sunday. Thank you very much. Okay, with that all covered, again, there's a lot to take care of, and there's a lot of news that has gone around over the course of the last 24 hours. Someone like Dalton Kincaid, who we were questioning whether or not he was going to play, it's trending that he is most likely not going to play, as last night the Buffalo Bills did elevate a tight end from the practice squad to their active roster, which is giving the indication that Dalton Kincaid will be shut down for another consecutive week here, which for those of you who have Khalil Shakir, rejoice. That's even more potential workload of opportunity in that kind of a circumstance. But either way, again, do not forget that the rankings on screen are for a half PPR and, of course, for a 4-point per passing touchdown. The rankings on Patreon are both for half and full PPR, as it represents right there. Thank you. Okay, let's get into answering questions on this wonderful Sunday morning. We begin with, let's go ahead and pop it up on screen right above my head. We begin. Okay, there, Alta Fari sends it a question. Says, good morning, bruv. Lad at wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 question mark. Sutton, McLaurin, Jaden Higgins, or Rashid Shaheed. Says, Worthy gave me 11.4 in the flex. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I mean, that was a decent game for him. Again, the one play in which he made the biggest upside, performance play of the game. Mahomes scrambled out of that pocket, rolled right, and just heaved the ball like 30, 40 yards downfield. And obviously, Worthy was able to get under it. So luckily for us, we were able to get over 10 fantasy points in that circumstance. Now, in regards to the alternative options you have available, I'm not interested in playing McLaurin coming off of the injury with Mariota taking on Patrick Surtain. I think all of that is a complicated mess. Then I look at Rashid Shaheed and I think to myself, yes, Sam Darnold in a revenge game against Minnesota could be very exciting. But do they need Rashid Shaheed to find success? No, because the offense has circulated around not really utilizing him very much of late, even with Torrey Horton on the IR. Shaheed has still not been a focal point as JSN does everything. Then it becomes a matter of Sutton versus Jaden Higgins. And considering Jaden Higgins has to take on relatively tough coverage this week against either Sauce Gardner and or Charvarius Ward, and CJ Stroud is back, which again, he doesn't have as great of a rapport with in comparison to what he represented recently with Davis Mills. My logic leads me to playing Cortland Sutton against one of the worst secondaries in the league, against one of the worst defenses in the league, and hoping that post-bye week they've reevaluated and they're trying to get him far more looks going forward. So Cortland Sutton's my play there. Thank you. All right, let's see here. RB sends in a question. Says, I'm 9-3. I need to win for first place. Okay, so we want that first round bye. Either Bo Nix or Jacoby Brissett. I think both are fantastic options. Again, as you can see right there, I've got Bo Nix 2 spots ahead of Jacoby Brissett for the remaining quarterbacks for this week. I think, again, Jacoby Brissett is a very solid, absolute, you have no issue starting him at all. I just feel like there is a little bit more potential for upside with Bo Nix this week taking on that Washington team, in which if they're given more opportunities, afforded by Marcus Mariota and that offense not functioning at a higher capacity, Bo Nix could end up leaving with a 3, potential 4 touchdown game in comparison to Jacoby Brissett, who's probably going to just handle his 250 to 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and get out. I feel like Bo Nix also has that rushing upside that can be actualized, rushing touchdown upside, which makes him, in my opinion, the more valuable prospect between the two. Then if we move on to your next question, it says, even if Tyler Warren plays, start him or go with Juwan or Gadsden. In this circumstance, I would suggest you just play Gadsden in this case, especially if it's a full PPR. I feel like there's a little bit more justification there. I will say I do have Tyler Warren still relatively ranked high. Over the course of this season thus far, when players have been dealing with an illness or been sick, they've still come out and played incredibly well. For my recollection of recent weeks here, whether it has been someone like a JSN and or someone like a Drake London, we have seen them come out and still ball out. So I'm not worried about an illness being an issue. I know every player is different in their circumstance of how they react to it, but as of right now, I'd still be very much so. Again, as you can tell, Tyler Warren's right here, but Gadsden 1 spot ahead of him. So I'd go with Gadsden as of that suggestion. And then your final question, roll with Rico or Bucky. Again, I think they're going to be relatively cautious with Bucky Irving and his deployment today. So for those of you who have Bucky on a roster, again, there's going to be a very sweet spot at which I would be willing to play him. Otherwise, I feel more comfortable as of right now with a Rico Dowdle play. Thank you. Soul315 Assassin sends in a question. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Says, with Marvin Harrison playing, do I play him or stick with Michael Wilson? So I've gone back and forth on it. I'm going to lean towards sticking with Michael Wilson in this circumstance, considering Marvin Harrison has been limited every single day of the week over the course of this week with practice participation. I'm leaning towards Michael Wilson probably still being the number 1 feature at the wide receiver position. I do expect for Marvin Harrison to still be as relevant. As you can see from my rankings, I've got Michael Wilson here at 11 and Marvin Harrison at 13. So I do believe that they're both going to be of incredible value in this upcoming matchup against Tampa Bay, which is the number 1 wide receiver matchup since week 5. But I do believe that Michael Wilson is the play that I would stick with in this circumstance. Thank you. All right, Scam661 sends in a question. It says, pick 3.5 PPR scoring format. We've got Sutton, BTJ, Vidal, Neal. Thanks. Okay. Let me go ahead and let me pull up my rankings so I can cross-reference where I have Neal compared to the group, because I know I want to play Kamani Vidal there. Again, in the absence of Omarion Hampton, it's a fantastic play in this circumstance. Again, Hampton's absence does present the entire backfield of opportunity for Kamani Vidal, who over the course of the last 6 weeks here, as the primary number 1, has found himself with a lot of potential upside in those, couple performances there where they take an early lead, which against the Raiders, Geno Smith, who last time out in week 2 against his defense turned the ball over 3 times, there's a lot of potential there. So in the case of Kamani Vidal, he's the auto start. If I'm looking for Neal comparatively to BTJ and Sutton, as of this moment, I have him ranked higher than both. BTJ is the last ranked player in a half PPR. So it would go Vidal 1, Neal 2, Sutton 3. BTJ is the odd man out, coming off of the injury. First week back, a little bit lesser on his potential. So I'm going to go ahead and lean away from him. So I'll go Vidal, Neal, and Sutton there. Thank you, Scam. Appreciate it. All right, DD sends in a question. It says, start 2. We have Hall, we have Dowdle, we have Sean Tucker, Neal, Pittman, and McLaurin. Cool. Regardless of scoring format, I feel like Breece Hall has to start against Atlanta. Again, Atlanta's run-stop defense, even though earlier on in the year, it was a far more formidable opponent for running backs, and it gave us a lot of troubles in terms of who to start. As of late, they have been getting absolutely ran through. So I would say that there's a very high likelihood in which Breece Hall, being the focal point of that offense, has himself an incredible game here today. So I'm going to lean towards Hall there. I'm not really interested in Sean Tucker. Really, Pittman is a tough matchup against Stingley. McLaurin's a tough matchup against Patrick Surtain. So at this point, it just leaves me with Dowdle or Neal, and I'm more inclined to trust Dowdle in hopes that he's be able to at least be the foremost contributor of this offense and put them into positions to succeed. And anytime they get into the red zone, hopefully they'll learn from their lessons last week and not let Bryce Young throw the ball on the 1-yard line. I'm going to lean towards Hall and Dowdle there, regardless of scoring format. Thank you. Michael Susmith sent in a question. Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate that. Michael says, should I start Wan'Dale Robinson or Michael Wilson in a full PPR? In a full PPR scoring format, let me see where I have them in accordance to one another. As of right now, I have Wan'Dale Robinson ranked higher in a full PPR. I've mentioned it before, and I'll go ahead and continue to reiterate. There is going to be a pretty good target opportunity share for Wan'Dale Robinson in 3 of the last 4 games in which he has played with Jackson Dart, who will be starting once again on Monday. He has had 11 or more targets. The opportunity share in terms of receptions and receiving yards is incredibly high. And of course, we have seen in the last 7 games, this New England Patriots defense has given up 6 receiving touchdowns to opposing slot wide receivers. So there's a lot of upside there for Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, says, could you let me know your choices based on if Harrison plays or not? So in the event in which Harrison plays, I would play Wan'Dale Robinson. In the event in which Marvin Harrison somehow is a surprise inactive, Michael Wilson would be the auto start. In fact, Michael Wilson would probably move up so high within the rankings, he'd only be behind Devontae Adams. So he'd jump into the top 5 conversation of the remaining wide receivers that are on this list that's going to pop up in about 10 seconds here. So Wan'Dale Robinson if Harrison plays, Michael Wilson if Harrison is out. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Pipe down 7969 says PPR Bam or Parker Washington. Let me see where I have them ranked comparatively to one another. Full PPR. Let's look up Knight. So as it stands between the two of them in a full PPR, I have Parker Washington ranked higher. And that's the direction in which I'll go with. Again, there's a lot of mouths to feed now in this Jacksonville Jaguars offense with the return of not only Brenton Strange last week, but additionally on top of that, the return now of Brian Thomas Jr., the re-addition of another receiver in the likes of a Jacoby Myers. So again, there is a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but I do believe that still the primary kind of, I would say, security blanket of a Trevor Lawrence will continue to be Parker Washington, and that'll be proven once again this week. So yeah, I think Parker Washington for another consecutive week is very much so a reliable contributor. As for Bam Knight, he has to score touchdowns. That is just the baseline. And with that, it becomes a little bit more intrinsically just sketchy because it's so difficult to predict touchdown potential for upside. So in that circumstance, they are close. I have them ranked 4 spots separating each other, but I do prefer Parker Washington based on projection. Thank you. As for your next question, PPR, Sutton, Debo, or McLaurin. Between those options, I believe I have Debo Samuel ranked higher. Let me check. Yeah, Debo Samuel 1 spot ahead of Cortland Sutton in a full PPR. So the reason why Debo Samuel in my mind is a little bit of a better potential contributing option, they're going to be in a negative script against Denver. That's a given. And with McLaurin out there, I think it'll just make it so where Debo never has to leave the slot receiving position, which makes it that much easier for him to get a vast volume of receptions that in a PPR he normally wouldn't be attributed to consistently. As we've seen over the course of the year in the absence of McLaurin, they've had to move him out wide at times because of the injuries at wide receiver. So I think McLaurin's return definitely does elevate Debo to being a very stable play this week. So Debo would be 1, Sutton 2, McLaurin 3. Thank you, Pipe Down. Flotation says, good morning. Was a little confused, sent in a follow-up. Okay, let me see what you sent me, brother. Let me pull up my phone. Let's go over to Discord. Did you end up sending me something of a follow-up, you said? Okay, let's see here. Okay, so what did I send you last night? So you said I grabbed Bam Knight, Vele, and Waller. Need to drop one of them with Waller coming off the IR. I think Olave plays, but if he doesn't, who do I sub? Okay, so well, here's the thing. My understanding was, okay, sure, Waller's coming off of the IR, but you're not going to play him this week because you've already technically played Mark Andrews. So in this case, you should leave Darren Waller there in your IR position because you're not going to play him this week. And then subsequently, I think it'd probably be best to play Woody Marks at RB and then position yourself with like Aaron Jones in the flex instead. And then in the event in which Olave doesn't play, which again, there's a lot of optimism around him playing today, but let's say he was to be a surprise inactive, then you would play Devon Vele in his stead. So the only swap you're theoretically making here is technically, well, actually, as of right now in a full PPR, if that is in fact your league, says I dropped Waller, most recent message. Okay, got it. So it says you've got Bam over Jones. Okay, so here's the thing. As of right now, Flotation, I would say that I'm trying to remember. I think you play in a full PPR. If you do play in a full PPR, keep it as Aaron Jones. I don't know why I was mentioning playing Bam Knight there. In a full PPR, I do have Aaron Jones. So you're not going to really make any moves. Just keep your roster as is. In the event in which Olave is out, then you can make a move. But I understand why. So on Sleeper, it makes it so where your roster is locked. Now I understand why you're asking that question. Okay. Got it. So you drop Waller. That's fine. Understood. You should now just go ahead, leave Aaron Jones in there, leave Woody Marks in there. If Olave's out, play Vele. Thank you. Now I understand. Yeah, Sleeper's a little bit different than Yahoo, which is like typically my main platform. But yeah, little bit of a different circumstance there, but yeah, I think we got it there. Thank you. What is this? Yes, Jones over Bam. Final answer. Thank you. Especially in a full PPR. I think that is the determining factor. In a half PPR, not as much. All right, Crip sends out a question. Thank you very much, Crip. Says, I need two in a full PPR. We've got BTJ, we've got Nico, we've got Waddle, we've got Michael Wilson. It's Nico and Waddle. The only time in which I would ever switch that is if Marvin Harrison is a surprise inactive, which is not going to be. And in that case, I'd play Waddle and Michael Wilson. So until then, considering Marvin's going to play, it's Nico and Waddle going into this week. Thank you. Juan Sardina sends in a question. Thank you very much, sir. Says full PPR, Shakir or Kenneth Walker. Ooh, that's a really good one. Look, Shakir's been incredible, and I'll go ahead and I'll share a better play that I'm putting together today in regards to Shakir. Maybe you guys could take advantage of it now. I do have Khalil Shakir 3 spots ahead of Kenneth Walker in a full PPR. I would lean in the direction of playing Khalil Shakir there. So speaking of this better play that I'm putting together today, and I've gone ahead and already entered, maybe I can go ahead and share that with you guys on screen right now. If I change this to where I can get rid of... Okay, let's do some gymnastics here. We get rid of this, and then we pop this open. Okay, a couple of plays that I made today. Actually, we got to close this one because this is not actually the play that I'm entering. I ended up switching it up a little bit. So, in regards to the plays, so we've got a couple today. This one being the first. Okay, we've got Woody Marks, more on his 1.5 receptions. Again, we have seen over the course of the season the check down rate of CJ Stroud be incredibly higher than what we have seen recently out of Davis Mills. In a potential negative script here, Woody Marks could be very much so valuable. And over the course of, 3 of the last 4 games with CJ Stroud, easily able to hit this number. Tyjae Spears, more than 2.5 receptions. He's been able to hit this number in 6 consecutive games. He's gotten 3 or more receptions. Very much so a negative script against Jacksonville this week. Should be another great game. Then we have Jacoby Brissett, who over the course of the last 3 consecutive weeks has surpassed this number and is in fact averaging 50 passing attempts per game in the last 3 games. And then we have Taysom Hill, who over the course of his career in the absence of Alvin Kamara has seen himself an incredible bump in terms of not only rushing attempts, but incredible volume of rushing yards in the absence of Kamara, which I think makes him an incredible play. This all for a potential 6x multiplier, 30 to turn into 180. Now, in regards to the other play that I put together, Bo Nix going more than 1.5 passing touchdowns, which should be implicated, especially when you're taking on Washington. They've allowed 2+ passing touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks in like 8 of the last 10 games. Then we have Khalil Shakir, who's been able to surpass this number in 5 of the last 5 games, going more than 4.5 receptions, and has done it in like 7 of the last 9. Pretty incredible overall kind of rate at which he's been able to perform there. And then we have Kyron Williams with an anytime touchdown, even though many are believing that, again, it's going to be a Devontae Adams showdown at the 1-yard line. I think that they're going to have so many trips down to the red zone that everyone's going to feast today, especially Kyron. So this is another one of these like 3.5x multipliers. I'll go ahead and I'll continue to share these plays as we go over for the remainder of this, of course, live stream. But again, if you guys want to go ahead and put together these plays via Betr, be sure to use code Andrew. Thank you very much. You get a free $10 when you sign up today. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's swap back to, where's my, where did it go? I'm trying to find it. There it is. Boom. All right, perfect. Continuing on. Again, we're returning to the question from Juan Sardina. As soon as you said Shakira, it just reminded me. But yeah, we'll go with Shakira in this circumstance. Thank you. All right, Benjamin Porter sends in a question. Benjamin, thank you. Says half PPR, Justin Jefferson or Dortch in kick/punt return league. Oof, that's a tough one. Let me go ahead and let me see where Greg Dortch's overall stats within that category exist at. Obviously, you're going to be a little bit more I think you're probably going to be a little bit more informed on the matter, considering I don't play in a league where I get any points for return yardage. But let's say, for example, you get 1 point per every 10 return yards. In the case of what we've seen from Greg Dortch of late, in the last 2 games, he's had, over the course of the last 6 games, he has had, 3 of them, 4 of them consist of over 100 yards off of return yardage alone. Now, I will say, in the return of Marvin Harrison, I think his receiving contributions disappear entirely almost. I know he's had himself 6 receptions in each of the last 2 weeks, and I think he'll still be implicated for receptions, but I think Marvin Harrison is going to certainly dig into that overall workload share, to which they'll be running 2 wide receiver sets, but additionally, it'll be Marvin Harrison and Michael Wilson out there effectively. So as of right now, if we return back to the 2-3 reception range at which we've seen Greg Dortch function at earlier this year, I think there is a justification to where you could just go Jefferson there. I think with a better quarterback play against the Seattle secondary that at times is a little bit sketchy, I think it's fine. But if you're getting more than 1 point per every 10 yards, at that point, sure, we go with Dortch. Otherwise, I'm thinking that Jefferson's the play. Thank you. Headshop sends in a question. Thank you very much, Headshop. Appreciate it. All right. So, actually, if you get 1 point per 10 yards and he's getting over 100 yards, so he's pretty much a baseline. Yeah, I'd still go Jefferson. I think there's enough upside in Jefferson's form for me to be okay with that. Okay, anyway, Headshop sends in a question. Says, drop Judkins for Vidal rest of season. I clinched the playoffs. No, I don't believe so. I believe that Judkins is the more valuable contributor for rest of season. I understand that if you've already clinched the playoffs, then you need to keep your best options for weeks 15 through 17. And I do not believe that is Kamani Vidal, considering Omarion Hampton will most likely be returning next week. So in this circumstance, you should probably keep it as is. Keep Judkins. Keep it rolling. You're good to go, brother. Thank you. Isaac Smith, 3901, sends it a question. Isaac, thank you. Says full PPR. Star one. Let's see here. BTJ, Michael Wilson, Quinshon Judkins, Tyrone Tracy. We need an upside play. So in a full PPR, I believe my highest ranked player is most likely going to be Michael Wilson. It is. Looking at it right now, Michael Wilson is my highest ranked player. My next highest ranked player would then be Tyrone Tracy, who over the course of the last 2 weeks has found his own individualized upside. And I think he could very easily continue that potential base of production. But when I look at the field here, BTJ coming off of injury first week back, not as excited about him in comparison to the alternatives. Judkins in a very much so heavy snow game could be a player that is a decent option but needs to score touchdowns. I think Michael Wilson in a full PPR is just the automatic answer. He could very easily come away with I want to say 7-8 receptions, 100 yards. Could very easily accomplish that this week, especially if Marvin Harrison's pulling number one coverage on the opposite side. It'll make the life of Marvin Harrison that much easier. Or maybe they'll just go ahead and transition to Michael Wilson continuing to be the number one option there, and the numbers that he has seen over the course of the last couple weeks continue as such. Whichever way we go about it, I think Michael Wilson's your best play in terms of floor and upside. Thank you. QVerx sends it a question. Thank you very much, man. Says in a half PPR flex, we have Neal, we have Johnston, we have Mechie, we have Jaden Higgins, and we have Waller. In a half PPR, between these available options, let me see where I have Neal comparatively, and then I can go ahead and let you know where we're going. So as of this moment, you have Mechie, Higgins, Johnston. Okay, so it's relatively, I wouldn't say close, because the thing is, quite frankly, every single one of these players, in my opinion, require touchdowns to be able to get onto the level playing field of Devin Neal in this circumstance, considering the volume of touches he'll probably see comparatively. So in a half PPR, I'm less enticed on the potential of going with one of these options. Now, I will say, I think every single one of these players could score a touchdown this week, but I do believe that Devin Neal, technically in a half PPR, is the most valuable of the group, considering, again, new quarterback play here, coming off an injury here, in a matchup in which, quite frankly, they don't need him to produce. Gadsden is clearing away the number two option. And Mechie, again, is a little bit sketchy because Tyrod Taylor's at quarterback. And even though at times Tyrod has been very formidable over the course of his career, I can't 100% blindly start him just yet over a player of the likes of Neal. So I'd go with Devin Neal here, Verks. Thank you. Tommy Gunn sends it a question. Tommy, thank you very much. Hope you're doing well, my man. Says, I have Tyler Warren. I'm not worried about his illness, but more worried about Daniel Jones' fibula fracture. Brenton Strange or Theo Johnson are available on the waivers. Yeah, look, I saw a couple clips this week of Daniel Jones at practice limping around. I'm a little bit kind of, I wouldn't say that I'm 100% out on the overall situation, but I am a little bit concerned myself. I would have to agree with that. Am I at the point to where I am benching Tyler Warren because of this? Not entirely, no. I would still lean towards Tyler Warren. I would like to assume that in the event in which he does have a significant enough fracture, that the medical team of the organization would protect him rather than throw him out there against Houston in a game in which, again, they don't need to win this game to make the playoffs. They are in pole position to win or get into a playoff berth. So at the moment, I would assume that the medical staff of the organization would prioritize his future health rather than his health in the short term of this week, to which if he wasn't at a full capacity to where he could be the normal Daniel Jones, I don't think they throw him out there. So as of right now, I'm not too worried about it. I'd stick with Tyler Warren. I don't think it's a bad idea to have Theo Johnson on roster as a backup tight end in the future. But as of right now, considering Theo Johnson's going on a bye next week, not really a necessary kind of potential pickup. I'd keep it as is as of right now, unless you had an open available spot. Thank you. Okay, let's scroll back up. We continue on with, all right, P. Mula 10 sends in a question. Says standard, ETN or Henderson? Ooh, that's an interesting one. I think in a standard league, I'd rather just play ETN. I think, again, the consideration of Henderson's left side of his offensive line, the both left tackle and left guard being out this week, considering both sustained substantial injuries last week, leads me to believe that Henderson's going to be a little bit of a lesser option. The offensive line of the New England Patriots has already had substantial volumes of trouble finding their success. So now that half your offensive line is nearly out, it's a little bit of a sketchier situation there. So I'd rather play ETN taking on the Tennessee Titans this week. As for your follow-up, Juwan Johnson or Oronde Gadsden, between the two of them, I think the yardage itself as a baseline kind of floor of production is a little bit safer on the side of Gadsden. Let me see what Juwan Johnson's overall red zone utilization has been of late. I mean, look, I think the volume, okay, so the volume of targets he has seen in the red zone is sizable enough to where I could consider just rolling in that direction. But I think again, it's going to be relatively close when you're not counting receptions. It really is going to become the toss-up of who's going to be more likely to score a touchdown. And as of right now, yes, I do believe that Juwan Johnson has the better matchup, but I would still go with Gadsden there because I think he's going to get a higher volume of targets, which when we talk about fantasy football, the highest potential of scoring more touchdowns primarily revolves around more opportunity. In the case of Gadsden, I think he'll get more targets this week, which will effectively increase his baseline of production and therefore value there. So I'll go with Gadsden there. Thank you. Jason sends in a question. Jason Sommers, hope you're doing well, my man. Says in a full PPR, pick two between Irving, BTJ, or Oronde Gadsden. Genuinely, I think Gadsden's going to be the highest ranked there. Let me check. So Gadsden's number one, and number two is BTJ. So this is what I'll tell you. Between the two, Brian Thomas Jr. and Irving, in a full PPR, I have them back-to-back ranked 48 and 49, but I do have Brian Thomas one spot ahead of him, but Gadsden's the number one. So BTJ and Gadsden will be my primary suggestions there. Again, both of them coming off of injuries. Irving's a little bit more substantial. I think they'll be a little bit more guarded with the utilization of Irving. So as of right now, BTJ and Gadsden's are my suggestion there, Jason. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Michael Sue Smith sent it a follow-up. Says flex Vidal, Wanda Robinson, or Michael Wilson in a PPR. Let me see where I have Vidal comparatively. As of right now, I have Wanda Robinson still ranked the highest of the bunch. Again, like I mentioned earlier, Wanda Robinson will be the play assuming Marvin Harrison is active. In the event in which Marvin Harrison is a surprise inactive, then you'd play Michael Wilson there still over Vidal. Thank you. CK Trojan sends in a question. CK, thank you. Says, hey, Andrew, hope all is well. It is. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Full PPR, Neal or Marvin Harrison? I'd much rather play Marvin Harrison at this point. I think his overall utilization is going to be a pretty substantial volume, especially with the volume at which we have seen Jacoby Brissett sling the pill of late. We're talking about 50 passing attempts per game over the course of the last 3 games on average. I think that alone, when we have the contribution of like 12 to 15 targets in the direction of someone like Trey McBride, 10 targets towards Michael Wilson, 10 targets towards Marvin Harrison. I mean, that in itself already is just 35 passing attempts. Then we have the running backs, we have the Greg Dortches of the world, we have the backup tight end. There's enough to go around to where everyone can get 10 plus targets in this game. So I think Marvin Harrison in this case is a little bit more of a valuable point of play. Thank you, Trojan. Peyton Whitaker sends in a question. Peyton, thank you. Says, hey, Andrew, Spears, Singletary, Rodriguez Jr., or McLaughlin? I think it depends on format. I think it greatly actually depends on format. So as of right now, bless me, thank me. Okay. I'm looking into the light and it just made me sneeze almost instantly. What is this? Okay, cool. Good to go. In regards to your question, sorry about that. I had to check a text. McLaughlin Christian Rodriguez, Singletary, Spears. Any of you who said bless you in the chat, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, so of these availables in a full PPR scoring format, my highest ranked of the bunch is still Chris Rodriguez. Close behind him is Spears. And then it's Singletary, then McLaughlin. So as of this volume, I mean, actually in both formats, it's close between Spears and C-Rod. I could split hairs there. I have them both in the same tier. But I think regardless actually of format, it's C-Rod in both circumstances here. Thank you. Crip sends in a follow-up, says, I need 2 in a full PPR, wide receiver / flex, Henderson, Sutton, Ladd McConkey, Michael Wilson. I think Henderson has to play. And then alongside him, I'd probably end up playing Ladd McConkey in this circumstance. So that's the direction in which I would go in. I feel like that is the safest play. And I think that also provides the most potential for upside. In the event in which we have a situation where Marvin Harrison somehow, some way is inactive, then you would play Michael Wilson over Ladd McConkey, but you still stick with Hendo. Thank you. Aaron Yeager sends in a question, says, greetings and salutations. Let me close this above. Actually, leave that there. Greetings and salutations, full PPR. Pick 2, Shakir, Jalen Warren, Abuka, and Kenneth Walker. Thank you. Okay, let me see where I have them ranked comparatively. Let's see where I have Shakir. Because I know I'm going to play Emeka Abuka. So that's for sure. And then as for Jalen Warren versus Khalil Shakir, I prefer to play Khalil Shakir in this circumstance. So those will be the 2 plays in which I have. And I do have, like I mentioned earlier, Khalil Shakir over Kenneth Walker in a full PPR. So I'm going to stick with playing both wide receivers there. Again, Emeka Abuka has moved up within my rankings of late because Baker Mayfield is in fact playing against Arizona. So I think that makes him an outstanding play. So Abuka, Shakir will be my primary suggestions there, Aaron. Thank you. JJ, what's up? Says must-win week to make the playoffs. Do you consider benching Kittle for Aronde Gadsden given the weather? As of right now, in a full PPR, I have Gadsden ranked higher than Kittle. So in the case of the weather, if it looks terrible enough, I know yesterday I was looking at the weather in Cleveland and it was not pretty. It was at the point to where, yes, I would consider it. Let me just check what it looks like right now. All right, let's see what the weather looks like right this moment. 1 second. Let's see if there's anything latest that I can kind of grasp onto. 49ers at Browns. Okay, let's see here. In terms of the latest, I mean, it's going to be a snow game. That's a given. But as of 6 minutes ago, clear skies. Looks like there's nothing wrong. So, I don't know if I'm tripping, but it looks like there's no weather effect at this moment, but in 2.5 hours from now could have a completely different conversation. If you want, again, if the game, by the time we get to game time, 10 a.m. PST, in about 2.5 hours from now, if we're talking about a potential heavy snow game, then yes, we would probably pivot. Otherwise, I'm trying to play Kittle in this circumstance. It says half PPR and projected lose by 10, so I might go for upside. Yeah, again, if in the event in which the weather is an impact, we'll pivot. Thank you, JJ. Don Frost, what's up, my man? Says, greetings and salutations. Flex, Neal or Gadsden in a full PPR? I'd honestly rather play Gadsden in this circumstance. Let me check real quick where I have them ranked comparatively to one another. Yeah, I'd rather have Aronde Gadsden in my lineup in a full PPR scoring format. Thank you. Oscar sends in a question. Thank you, Oscar. Says, full PPR, I'm 7-5, and I need to get this win. Who should I play in the flex? Jalen Warren or Tedero McMillan? As of the two, where the heck do I have Jalen Warren? Okay, yeah. As of the 2, looking at their full PPR rankings, what scares me about McMillan is the potential of this matchup being a one-sided affair. But technically, that should help him get more target opportunity. So, based on just projections alone of garbage time, I have Tedero ranked higher than Jalen Warren. And that's primarily because Jalen Warren's overall opportunity has kind of been siphoned away from him recently, due to Kenneth Gainwell getting all the receiving workload. Had that opportunity not been siphoned away and Jalen Warren continued to be one of the primary receiving options of this team, which has no longer been the case of late, I would probably go with Warren. But as of this moment, I feel like it's a little bit of a safer and a full PPR play to go with Tedero. If you want to just take the safe option of Warren, get your potential 12 fantasy points of base, like 60 yards and a touchdown, I think that's very much so capable from a Jalen Warren this week. I think there is more upside involved with McMillan there, with a very similar like potential for floor where he can go, come away with 5 catches for 50 yards on a base floor of production. to which you have your 10 points. And if he ends up doing anything more, the upside is certainly on his side. All right, we have Casey who sends in a question. Thank you very much. Says, good morning, Andrew. If Olave doesn't play, would you move Miami's defense above Cleveland's? That's an interesting one. Cleveland's defense has moved up as substantially as they have, primarily because of the expectation of the weather in that game. Let me go and see the update on this weather for Cleveland really quickly. I want to actually see if there's anything that has changed of late. Yeah, so looking at the current weather report, again, it's going to be 33 degrees by the time we get to game time, and the current potential for, again, snow is relatively high. So it's going to come in soon enough here. So in the case of which I'm leaning towards defenses, in the absence of Olave, it'd be very much so a consideration, considering, again, Tyler Shuck would have just Jawan Johnson and Devon Vele and Mason Tipton to throw the ball to, which at that point, yes, I'd be willing to just play Miami's defense, assuming, again, the weather in Cleveland doesn't become a disaster. I'm hoping for it to be a disaster, and that's why I've kind of had Cleveland's defense up there. Actually, for the purposes of fantasy, I don't want it to be a problem. But in the purposes of having the Cleveland Browns defense, I want it to snow. I think that actually helps them because Brock Purdy in the snow has not played well in his career in the NFL. So as of right now, if it's not snowing and Olave's out, yeah, let me have Miami's defense there this week. Thank you, Casey. Appreciate it. Says, what's your expectation of Waller's workload? I mean, I would see his overall potential deployment very similar to his first week of the season earlier this year against the Jets, where he's going to be brought in during the red zone utilization attempts, and he'll probably get himself a couple targets at the end zone. He probably comes away with a touchdown. My only issue is he going to get enough receiving workload to be able to offset that to where he can come away with, if he only comes away with 2 catches, 15 yards, and a touchdown, I mean, sure, in the cases of a tight end position, he's still of value. He's going to get you the potential of 9.5 fantasy points. But if he doesn't score that touchdown and he's not highly utilized in terms of target opportunity share, if the yardage and receptions are not there, it's a little bit more difficult to trust his potential deployment. So as of right now, I think he's going to be very sparingly used, especially coming off of the injury, to which I think maybe 4 or 5 targets at best. He's going to have to come away with a touchdown. He has to. Otherwise, we're in trouble. Raymond 4054 sends out a question. Says, questions in the chat. Thank you. Says, hey, Andrew, flex Sutton, Ibuka, or Woody. I'd much rather play Ibuka, especially with Mayfield expected to play today. I would expect that Emeka Ibuka, who's been getting himself over 10 targets per game on average over the course of the last 5 weeks, should continue to be one of the primary threats there. And even though they were taking on Will Johnson, Max Melton, they're both active and healthy in the cornerback position for the Arizona Cardinals. Again, we've seen many of wide receivers find success against that secondary, especially last week, Jacksonville's wide receivers. Even though, of course, Trevor Lawrence turned over the ball 3 separate times through the air, still a lot of production from Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, etc. So I'd assume that Emeka Ibuka, pretty solid play this week. Thank you. All right, Zeus TG sends in a question. Zeus, thank you. Says, my guy, questions in the chat. Thank you. Okay, appreciate that, my man. Says, PPR, I need 2 flex options between Pearsall, Pierce, Tootin, Addison, and Waller. Of your availables here, I believe, let me just see what we have these guys ranked at. Here we go. Let's go here. Okay, so I want to see where I have Addison in comparison to someone like Waller, and that's pretty much going to be the determining factor in this circumstance. Okay, where's Waller? Okay, so as of this question, I would go with Alec Pierce and Jordan Addison. Those are my 2 highest ranked in a full PPR scoring format as of this week. So Pierce and Addison, thank you. As for your next question, says half PPR, I need 2 flex between Bucky, Vidal, Parker Washington, Godwin, Strange, Pierce, Pearsall, and Waller. So I think Vidal has to start, must start play of the overall grouping. And then alongside of that, I would probably end up positioning to play either Parker Washington or Bucky Irving. In this case, as of right now, I think it depends on the riskiness in which you need to kind of approach with. As of right now, I have Bucky Irving as the next best option. I could justify, because of the potential limited nature of Bucky's deployment, to which we go Parker Washington here. As of right now, I have them both ranked in the same. They're very close. I mean, Bucky's 2 spots ahead of Parker in this case. Actually, no, it's a half PPR. Let me change that. Hold up. I was looking at full. So in this case, it's probably just Bucky outright then. In that case, let me just pull this up. Bucky Irving. Yeah. As of right now, I would just play Bucky Irving and Vidal. in this circumstance in a half PPR scoring format. Thank you. Appreciate it, Zeus. All right. Nels sends in a question. Says, Nel Santiago, hey, bro, PPR. Need one. Gadsden, Bam Knight, or Mechie. In a PPR, I'm playing Gadsden. That's my highest ranked and projected of the availables. Thank you. Appreciate it. We move on to Joel Garza, who sends in a question. Says, in the chat, fam, thank you. Good morning. Good morning to you as well. Thank you very much. Says, have Baker starting right now, and Purdy's on the bench. Should I drop Purdy and pick up and play Lawrence instead of Baker in a full PPR? The separation between Baker and Lawrence isn't significant enough to where I think you need to drop Purdy, because I think I'd rather have Brock Purdy rest of season as my quarterback for the fantasy playoffs, especially with the upcoming schedule they have ahead. I wouldn't say that it's worth to potentially drop Purdy in order to accomplish this. And I don't think it's that significant of a separation. So I'd probably just keep what you have, keep Baker, have him start this week. I understand that it's very sketchy to throw Baker out there, but just in the same conversation in which we had about Daniel Jones earlier, I would assume that the coaching staff would probably prioritize his health for the future, as they're probably going to make the playoffs and win the NFC South, to which they didn't need to play him this week if he was substantially injured. So as of right now, I think he's just dealing with a pain tolerance thing, and I'd roll with Baker in this circumstance because I don't want to drop Purdy because I'd like to utilize him for the fantasy playoff schedule ahead. Thank you, Joel. Appreciate that. Moving on to a question by Play-by-Play 5244, who says, Nico Collins or Ashton Genty? I believe I have Genty ranked higher. Let me confirm this. As of right now, actually, I don't. I have Nico Collins ranked higher in a full PPR. He's 2 spots ahead of Genty. They're both in the same tier, but Nico Collins is my higher ranked between the two of them. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Cuckoo sends in a question, says, happy Sunday, happy football Sunday. Again, welcome, guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, we're about 43 minutes into the live stream. Got a couple updates here. What does it say? Jaden Daniels has a quote-unquote chance to play in week 14. That's a relatively strong one. Could be a decent schedule ahead. I'm actually curious what the Commander schedule looks like going forward. Jaden Daniels' schedule ahead. Minnesota, New York Giants, Philadelphia, Dallas. Again, pretty advantageous positions there against Minnesota, New York Giants. Against Philly could be a little bit of a sketchy matchup, but you never know. He might end up showing up and showing out. And then Dallas could be a shootout. So potentially a lot of upside there, especially on the fact that he's only 65% rostered in Sleeper when you could throw him in your IR spot. A little bit of a questionable rostership percentage there. Should be a lot higher, but hey, if he has an opportunity of playing, let's scoop him up while we have a chance. All right, continuing on. Sorry, Cuckoo sends in a question. And says, full PPR flex 2 between Bowers, Rico, Bucky, Michael Wilson, Franklin, and Debo. My 2 highest ranked are Bowers and Michael Wilson here. Those are my 2 highest ranked by a pretty substantial margin, I would say. Yeah, that's the direction in which I would go with. I think Troy Franklin could be a sneaky play out of those available options as well, but between the availables you have, Bowers and Michael Wilson will be my start. Thank you. All right, Next Gen Financial sends in a question. Says, Knicks or Dart? I would prefer to play Knicks. Again, my only concern is that if Dart comes out and starts running the ball as much as he has earlier on in the season, because the organization specifically tells him, hey, we can't have you running the ball that many times and running as dangerously as you have. You've already, sustained a concussion. You get another one, you're out for the season. My only concern would be if Knicks potentially starts to rein it back in that category, which would scare me in terms of his potential upside, considering he's not the greatest overall kind of passing contributor without his best wide receiver out there in the form of Malik Neighbors. So as of right now, Knicks is my suggestion against that, terrible defense of the Washington Commanders. And then for a flex and a full PPR, playing one between Higgins, C-Rod, Strange, Tez Johnson, Bam Knight, and Michael Carter. I believe that Bam Knight is probably going to be my highest ranked. Let me just confirm this. You have Tez out there, which I don't have ranked higher. I don't have Higgins ranked higher. I don't have C-Rod ranked higher. Brenton Strange. Where's Brenton Strange? Very close to Bam Knight. Michael Carter's still in that combo, but not as close. Yeah, it's either Bam Knight or Brenton Strange. As of right now, I'd go with Bam Knight, considering his consistency of opportunity of late, and considering for another consecutive game here, we have both Amari DeMercado and Trey Benson inactive. So I'd go with Bam Knight out of those available. Next Gen, thank you. Uno sends in a question. Says, hey, Andrew, who do I flex? Bam Knight, John Mechie, Quentin Johnston, Theo Johnson, McLaurin, or Higgins? In the even, you like Johnston. Why over Mechie? Okay, In the event you like, in the event, I think that's what you meant. In the event you like Johnston, why over Mechie? Got it. Okay. So as of right now, I'm not willing to play Jaden Higgins or McLaurin out of those two options. I think it's very much so scoring format dependent, full PPR. Thank you. Okay, so in the case of this circumstance, to which we have Theo Johnson, I want to see where Theo is comparatively to the grouping. Okay, so he's going to be relatively close, but not the greatest play of the group. It's close, but it's not the greatest. So as of right now, the order in which I would deploy these players at is the following: Johnston 1, Theo Johnson 2, Mechie 3, Bam Knight 4. So, and then I'd go with like Higgins 5, McLaurin 6. So in this case, yes, it's Johnston. The primary reason is because of the Raiders matchup. Taking on the Raiders has been one of the most advantageous for the wide receiver position. And when I'm looking at the potential of trusting either Justin Herbert-led offense in comparison to a Tyrod Taylor-led offense, I would assume that it's a little bit more implicated for higher target opportunity and effectively a little bit more touchdown potential for opportunity. Even though Mechie has scored touchdowns in each of the last 2 weeks, I do believe that Johnston's got a little bit more of an edge in that category comparatively. Let me close this tab here real quick. So as of between the two, Johnston will be number 1. Then I go Theo 2, Mechie 3, Bam Knight 4. That's the order in which I would go about it. But as of right now, I think the target opportunity share is projected higher for Quentin Johnston. That's primarily why I project him higher. Again, like I mentioned before, the highest potential for scoring more points is more opportunity. And in the case of this, I would go with Johnston. And I'm not really utilizing his most recent performance against Jacksonville against him. Nobody played well in that Chargers offense. So really, it's not really a game that I'm looking towards to be like, yeah, that's a game in which we can utilize against them because they started pulling their starters in the second half relatively early. All right, Mr. Hockeyman, 1998 says, hi, Andrew. Questions in the chat. Thanks for the help. Okay. Says, who do I start between Michael Wilson or Emeka Egbuka? I'd much rather play Emeka Egbuka. I'd only ever play Michael Wilson there if Marvin Harrison was out. Also, Tyrone Tracy or Woody Marks, both full PPR. In the case of a full PPR, Tracy or Marks, I have Tracy ranked higher. Says, still feel like the Eagles defense could be good for the playoffs after their performance, or are the Bucks better? Look, I did not anticipate for the Eagles to get gashed for 250 rushing yards. That's the first time that I've seen the Eagles defense be absolutely manhandled in that capacity. So I want to assume that, again, going forward, they'll still be a very stout defense to which they'll give, opposing offenses trouble. In the case of the Buccaneers, I don't know if they can be outright trusted, but when you're taking on as advantageous of matchups as they are, taking on like teams like New Orleans and Carolina, etc., I feel like there is a conversation to be had there. But looking at the upcoming schedule for the Eagles, let's see here. Let's pull this up. So in the fantasy playoffs, taking on Las Vegas in week 15, I think is like a must start in that circumstance. Washington week 16 depends on Jaden Daniels' availability. And 17, not as enticing taking on Josh Allen. So in the case of between the two, again, if Jaden Daniels and Josh Allen are the upcoming matchups for the Eagles, again, if they show up like they did earlier this season against Green Bay and Detroit, fantastic. But if they do what they've done in the last 2 weeks and get absolutely manhandled by Dallas and Chicago against Buffalo and Washington, could be some troubles there. So maybe we want to keep the Buccaneers just close by enough to where if the pivot becomes an availability, we do so. But I'd like to play the Eagles against the Raiders week 15 to begin the fantasy playoffs. If you think you're going to get a first round bye, then maybe we just stick with the Bucs in that circumstance. PT Morris sends in a question. PT, thank you. Says Aaron Jones or Jacoby Myers in the flex half PPR point per first down. I'd rather play Aaron Jones over Jacoby Myers. Again, Aaron Jones is probably going to get himself a pretty good opportunity share of targets over the course of this game, primarily because of the filtered kind of just checkdowns in his direction in order to protect Brosmer from the pass rush that is ahead, especially with one of their offensive linemen out. I think Aaron Jones is a little bit more implicated for an upside play in comparison to Myers, considering there is a lot of competition in that offense. BTJ is returning, Brenton Strange for another game, Parker Washington prioritized. I think Aaron Jones is the play there. Thank you. Jared sends in a question, says in a 10-team half PPR, I've dropped from 1st to 5th solely because of Lamar. Have not clinched the playoffs. Thinking of benching Lamar and picking up Rodgers or Lawrence. I'd rather pick up Lawrence there. Best available options, thoughts? Yeah, you should pick up Lawrence. Again, in the case in which we cannot trust Lamar, again, if it wasn't for the offensive pass interference call from Zay Flowers and effectively the fumble into the end zone from Isaiah Likely, we have an additional I mean, how many yards is that we get? We get like 80 extra yards and we get 2 touchdowns. So we're talking about the potential of a 14-point fantasy swing, 14.5-point fantasy swing in the favor of Lamar Jackson, just off a very specific, unfortunate circumstance. So I'm not willing to outright say, oh, Lamar is the complete worst, to where I need to bench him for Lawrence. But again, I would like to have the available option on roster just in case we get into the mix to where another consecutive week happens and we can't trust them, then we need a pivot just in case. So yeah, I think picking up Lawrence is definitely it's necessary, unfortunately, just in case to have the insurance. Thank you. Gravity sends in a question, says full PPR, start one wide receiver, 1 running back, 1 flex between Bucky, Tracy, Charbonnet, Tucker, Metcalf, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jaden Higgins, Bam Knight, and John Mechie. Okay. So of your available options, I believe that Wan'Dale Robinson in a full PPR is by far and away the number 1 wide receiver. I think at running back in a full PPR, Tracy's the play, to which then we look towards the flex position in a full PPR. Let me see where I have Bucky Irving comparatively to the rest of the field, and we'll see if we can maybe look towards an alternative option here. Yeah, DK Metcalf is relatively ranked high comparatively. I would consider maybe Bam Knight or John Mechie as an alternative as well. But as of right now, my third highest ranked option at least the highest ranked option for the flex would be Metcalf. So as of right now, I'd go Wan'Dale, Tracy, and Metcalf as my 1, 2, 3 starts in this circumstance. Gravity, thank you. If I was to be given a confidence booster in terms of the organization telling me, oh yeah, Bucky's going to get the full workload share of opportunity, at that point I'd be like over the moon about starting him in the flex. But everything that has come out from the organization pretty much entails like him being more limited than we would like, and then potentially kind of giving him, they're going to be cautious in his opportunity. Maybe if he starts getting some run early and starts taking over, they may run with his momentum. But in this case, I think it's just safer to go with Wan'Dale, Tracy, and Metcalf. Thank you. Levant sends in a question. Levant, how you doing, my man? Says, why did Jefferson move up so much in the rankings? It's not a matter of that Jefferson moved up substantially. It's more like I removed a lot of the other players from the rankings, more or less. So in regards to the comparative list of the field of wide receivers that were out there, when I plug out all 8 teams that have already played, Jefferson in comparison to Thursday, has he moved up? Actually, he's moved up a decent amount. Yeah, he's moved up a decent amount. Is it substantial? No. I think he's moved up maybe 1, 2, 3 players of rankings. Yeah, 3 players of rankings. Not substantial enough to where I'm like completely out on it, but I think he'll be a little bit better with Brosmer than he is with JJ McCarthy. And I think that's an objective truth, and it'll probably be kind of determined over the course of today's game. But that's the primary, pulling out other players and slightly moving him up based on target opportunity share that he should be exposed to. Thank you. Brett Wood sends it a question. Says full PPR, Neal or Gainwell, and why? Let me see where I have Neal and Gainwell. So as of right now, I have Gainwell ranked higher. The primary reason that I have Gainwell ranked higher, they take on the number 1 matchup at the running back position in terms of rushing yards allowed. And over the course of the last 2 weeks, Kenneth Gainwell's rushing opportunity has increased relatively high in comparison to earlier on this year, where he was pretty much just a non-factor at RB2. So considering he's probably going to be projected anywhere between 6 to 10 rushing attempts, pretty good baseline of production when they're taking on a defense that's nearly allowing 6 yards per carry. And then on top of that, when we talk about the overall receiving utilization of Gainwell, in order to protect Rodgers, they have to dump it off. He's got 3 fractures in his left wrist. They have to continue to dump it off. And there's a reason why Gainwell has been so highly implicated within that category of late. Sure, as of late, Mason Rudolph has been prioritizing Gainwell far more often, but even early in that game, in week 11, in which Gainwell got his receiving touchdown to begin the game. It was with Rodgers, and he had 3 targets prior to, of course, Rodgers sustaining the injury. So overall, the receiving utilization, the rushing utilization, the matchup, I think all of it is in favor of Gainwell. While Neal, genuinely will probably never see the end zone in this category, as Taysom Hill is going to take over in that category and probably actually have more rushing attempts than Neal today. Thank you. Yeet World sends out a question, says standard scoring. Diggs or Ladd McConkey rest of season? I'd much rather have Ladd McConkey. Yeah, I think the overall contribution in which Ladd McConkey could put forth is a little bit stronger of a base in comparison to Stephon Diggs. I know Stephon Diggs has less competition effectively, but the way that offense functions of late and their matchups ahead, I'd feel far more comfortable with Ladd McConkey as my starting wide receiver comparatively. Thank you. Twisted Folk sends in a question, says half PPR, flex Vidal or Abuka. Let me see where I have Abuka comparatively to Vidal in a half PPR format. As of the two right now, I have Emeka Abuka. Where is Vidal? I have Kamani Vidal ranked higher, so I'll take Kamani Vidal in that circumstance. In a half PPR. It says 6 point per touchdown. I have Drake May, but starting LG and left tackle are out. Yeah, got it. Nix and Dart are on the waiver wire. 8-team league. Am I overthinking this? I don't think it's an overthink. I just feel like taking on the New York Giants defense has not been a difficulty for teams in the league. Their pass rush, again, is obviously their strongest base, but they can't stop the run to begin with. So once the run begins to at least kind of take over, it'll open up a little bit more play action for Drake May. I'm not worried about it personally. I want to start my studs. In the case of Drake May, I got to have him in my lineup. If you wanted to play Dart or Nix, I don't think they're bad ideas. I think they can both score just as many points as Drake May. But I do think that Drake May has a little bit higher potential for upside considering the matchup against a very much so heavy man coverage team to where he should be able to take advantage of that. So Vidal and May would be my suggestions in this case. Twisted, thank you. OKC BK sends in a question. Says in a half PPR, pick 2 between Neal, Jacoby Myers, BTJ, Sean Tucker, Algier. Free agents consisting of Dortch, Bam Knight, and Keenan Allen. So as of right now in a half PPR, if I'm picking 2 of these players, that was not really what I needed to do, but I tried to grab this like fly out of the air. I don't know how it got in here. Left the door open, and all of a sudden we got trouble. Anyway, continuing on with this question, Devin Neal is probably my highest ranked out of the group in a half PPR. Jacoby Myers, BTJ, Sean Tucker, Algier. I would honestly think that Bam Knight is another one of these great options comparatively that you mentioned that he's a free agent. Looking at my current ranking in a half PPR, Bam Knight relatively high up there, to which honestly, if I'm in your position here, I probably pick up Bam Knight and I probably play him alongside of Devin Neal here as the 1-2 combo. Otherwise, it's Devin Neal and BTJ as my highest ranked. Thank you. As to who I would theoretically drop in order to pick up Bam Knight, it probably ends up being someone like Sean Tucker or Algier if I don't have Bijan, probably. Thank you. All right, Dinosaur sends in a question. Says, pick 3 in a full PPR. Wanda Robinson, Lad McConkey, Devin Neal, Vidal. As of right now, of those availables, Wandell, Lad, and Vidal. Those are my 3 highest ranked. Wandell, Lad, Vidal. So Devin Neal will be the odd man out in this circumstance. Thank you. Julian Figueroa sends in a question. Says, good morning. Full PPR start the Browns or Texans defense? I feel like the Texans defense are a blind start every single week. Therefore, I have them ranked higher. Again, for those of you guys who are joining us this morning, welcome, good morning, happy Sunday. Again, happy football day. On this Week 13 Sunday, where many of us are in need of a must-win situation to get to the fantasy playoffs, I would point you towards the rankings that are represented on the right side of the screen. They're updated as of this morning. They do not include any of the players who have already played this week over the course of those 4 games in those 8 teams. And in regards to the in regards to the defensive conversation of the Browns versus the Texans, the rankings you will see on screen represented as my top 12 defenses include the Texans over the Browns. Maybe if it's a blizzard game, we lean in the direction of playing the Browns. But until we can get a confirmation as to how heavy the snow is, I think the Texans have always been, over the course of last season and this season, a must-start blind play. So I have the Texans as number 6 and Browns as number 7. Thank you, Julian. Andrew Bennett, 4557, says in a full PPR, Lad or Olave, really struggling. I'd rather play Lad, especially with Olave being questionable going into the game. That in itself kind of keeps me a little bit sketched out to where I'd be a little bit more comfortable just playing the wide receiver that I know is healthy, ready to go, and has an incredible matchup against the Raiders. So I'm cool with going Lad McConkey there. Thank you. Mike Honcho sends in a question, says, you're the best in the biz, full PPR. Do you have Tracy over Bucky today? I do, absolutely. I have Tracy over Bucky in a half PPR. So in a full PPR, I think that expansion even grows further, considering I expect that Tracy gets himself just as much receiving opportunity as he has over the course of the last couple weeks. And based on what we've seen earlier this season with Jackson Dart plus Cam Scatterbu, there were a lot of games there where Cam was coming away with 5-6 catches, even with Jackson under center. So a lot of opportunity there for Tracy to be a pretty good option in a negative script today. So Tracy's my suggestion there in a full PPR. And for my flex, Ibuka, Parker Washington, or Quentin Johnston. Considering Mayfield is expected to play, I would suggest you play Emeka Ibuka there against the Arizona Cardinals. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Mike. All right, let's see here. National Champ Rush sends in a question. Says, half PPR, who do I start between Tua, Stroud, and Darnold? Yeah, I think the best option between the bunch is probably leaning towards Sam Darnold. In the revenge game against Minnesota at home, a defense that really can't stop much. I understand they're going to send they're going to send the blitz, and they're going to try their very best to throw Darnold off as much as they possibly can. But I feel like with the way in which the offense of the Minnesota Vikings may function it's going to lead to a lot more opportunity for the defense, forcing turnovers, getting the ball back for Darnold, and them just lighting it up on the scoreboard. I think Darnold is number 1, Stroud's 2, and Tua's 3. Thank you. Brian Mills sends in a question. Brian, thank you very much. Says, half PPR. I'm up 93-0 after Thanksgiving games between Goff, Watson, Jamison Williams, and Rice. Should I sit Henderson because of the issues and play, because of the line issues in play, Franklin instead? Or just leave it alone? My other RBs are Bijan and Kyron. I would leave it alone. Play Henderson, Bijan, and Kyron. I think those are your 3 best plays by a substantial margin in a half PPR. Thank you. Phil Zhang sends in a question. Says, full PPR, Kenneth Walker or Emeka Ibuka. I believe I'll have him. Yeah, I'm going to have Emeka Ibuka ranked higher, primarily again. If Baker's active, Ibuka is the play. I understand that Kenneth Walker against Minnesota, a defense that cannot stop the run, is a very enticing play. But again, outside of scoring a touchdown, a little bit lesser of a potential play. And I think Emeka Ibuka's overall potential floor of production, considering the target opportunity which he's been given, if he can catch 70% of the targets he typically gets on a weekly basis, 7 out of those 10, the production of which he could put forth is so substantial that I don't think it's close. So I'll lean towards Emeka Ibuka based on that potential upside. Moving on to GK, who sends in a question. Says, PPR and point per carry. Pick 2 between Vidal, Marks, Bucky, and Neal. If you're playing in a point per carry league, you're getting a full point per carry. Vidal and Marks are outright, you're going to be your plays. Because if we're getting a point per rushing attempt, Vidal and Marks are going to be the most highly utilized running backs in terms of the rushing category out of the group. And it's not even relatively close here, to which I believe those are your 2 best plays as of this week. Thank you. Skatester sends in a question. It says, standard league, I need 1 wide receiver. Marvin Harrison still questionable. I have Michael Wilson, Tetaroa, and Wan'Dale Robinson. In a standard scoring format where you get 0 points per reception, I believe your best play is playing Michael Wilson here. Even with Marvin Harrison being active in a standard scoring format, I would play Michael Wilson there. Thank you. Stormtrooper 24 sends in a question. Thank you very much. Says, I need a wide receiver 2, an RB2, a flex, and a defense. Do I start Michael Wilson, Cortland Sutton, Michael Pittman Jr., Mechie? Out of those available wide receivers, Michael Wilson's my start there. Running backs, we have Vidal, Kenneth Walker. Between those 2, honestly, looking at the rest of the field, I think I probably end up playing Michael Wilson, Vidal, and Kenneth Walker as my wide receiver, RB, and flex. And then between the Seahawks and Broncos, I would much rather play the Seahawks defense against Brosmer. Again, we're talking about a quarterback that played 1 year in the FBS in his college football days at Minnesota and wasn't the greatest quarterback. We're talking about a 3rd stringer here for the love of for the love of all things fantasy. The Seahawks are the must-play at defense there. So Michael Wilson, Vidal, Kenneth Walker, Seahawks. That's the way I wish I go about it. Thank you. And then the rest of your lineup looks like Hurts, Bijan, Pickens, Tyler Warren, Dicker. Yeah, you're good to go there, brother. We Buy Home sends in a question. Says, non-PPR, 1 wide receiver, Diggs, Buka, or J-Jet. As of right now, I'm going to go with Emeka Ibuka out of the group. Again, with Mayfield in the lineup, ready to go, I feel like it's impossible for me not to start Emeka Ibuka in this circumstance. So that's the way I go. Thank you. Sick with it sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, tight end premium, Debo versus Denver, Vidal versus the Raiders, Gaston versus the Raiders, or Alec Pierce versus Houston, I'm assuming. Need upside to beat this SOB. Okay, let's see here, brother. Let's see, in a full PPR, where do we have the field? Okay, as of right now, my highest ranked of the available is it's a tight end premium league. So you're getting 1.5 points per reception in a full PPR, correct? If that is in fact the case, I am playing Oronde Gadsden over against the Raiders. That's the way in which I would go about this. Otherwise, if you were playing in a league where it's just a full PPR across the board, I would have told you to play Vidal. But considering the tight end premium format, I believe Gadsden is the justifiable play in this circumstance, as I would project him to have a significantly higher volume of points. Getting that extra half point per reception definitely does make it a little bit more enticing, considering the current separation between the two of them. If I add the projected 5 receptions I have for Gadsden, we add an extra 2.5 fantasy points to his scoreline. He is projected more than Vidal in my overall system here, so I lean in that direction. All right, let's see here. Okay, we took care of that. Moving on to the next question from Demond Smith. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. Let me go ahead and scroll back up here. It says in a full PPR, who would you put in the flex? Pearsall, Thomas, Darnell Mooney, or Devin Neal? Let me see where I have Neal comparatively in a full PPR. I'll let you know right now. As of this moment, between the availables you've mentioned, I would have Neal ranked high. I do have Neal ranked higher than, I think, all of them. Pearsall is out of the realm because, again, the snow. Darnell Mooney doesn't get enough opportunity, and BTJ's off of the first game of the injury. Yeah, Devin Neal's my highest ranked of the group. The order in which I would rank it is Devin Neal 1, BTJ 2, Darnell Mooney 3, and Ricky Pearsall 4. Thank you, Demond Smith. Appreciate it. Stormtrooper says, forgot to add Jay Warren as another RB2 option. Okay, let me just go ahead and let me pull that up right now. So let's pull up your channel activity. So your previous question for potential running back options would include... Okay, got it. Would include Jaylen Warren. Okay, so in the case of this circumstance, to which we do have Jaylen Warren available, need an RB. Okay, so in the case of your question, I actually don't know what your scoring format is. I think what we mentioned earlier was it was a full PPR. I think that's what I was basing it off of earlier. In the case if it's a full PPR or even a half PPR, I believe I have Jaylen Warren ranked lower than both? Yeah, I do. So I'd keep it still as the same suggestion. As of right now, I would still go with Michael Wilson, Kamani Vidal, and Kenneth Walker as my 1, 2, 3 options there. Thank you. Kyle, or sorry, yeah. Well, is that Kyle or is that Killsum? Yeah, Killsum style. It says full PPR. Start Devin Neal or Chimere DK. I'd still lean with Devin Neal in this circumstance. Only in the case in which I was to get another week in which Alec Iomanor was going to be out, would I feel a little bit more comfortable in terms of the potential of like a Chimere DK getting a little bit of a greater target share opportunity. I think he's still going to be great this week, but in this case, I'd still stick with Devin Neal between the two of them. Thank you. All right, Carlos Zubi sends in a question. Carlos, thank you. Says, what's up? At PPR, considering I'm starting the Los Angeles defense, would you flex Genty over Kenneth Walker? I'm starting Hendo and Judkins as my RB1 and 2. I mean, look, that's a good question. I would say that I'm trying to start the best players that I have available to me. And in the case of the two, in a half PPR between Kenneth Walker and Genty, what is so appealing about Genty's potential is the receiving workload. That is what is very much so enticing. But again, I have them back-to-back ranked for a reason. If you wanted to play Kenneth Walker over Genty, I have no issue with it. I have them in the same tier of running back. They are very closely ranked in terms of potential production, in terms of where I have them projected. So if you wanted to play Kenneth Walker, you can. Otherwise, Genty, as you can see on screen, is ranked higher in a half PPR scoring format. It says I'm starting Henderson and Judkins. Yeah, so if it was me, I'd play Henderson, Genty, and Kenneth Walker, and I'd bench Judkins. But that's the only difference that I would make in terms of suggestion. As for your next question, T-Mac, Debo, or Michael Wilson, I play Michael Wilson this week. As for Nix and Herbert, I believe I have Herbert one spot ahead of Nix. Therefore, I'll play Herbert there. Thank you, Carlos. Appreciate it. Roy sends in a question. Says, hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I did. Thank you very much. Hope you guys did as well. Questions in the chat. It says, in a full PPR, 2 full PPR leagues, flex position, pick one, Neal or Sutton. Between Neal and Sutton, I have, let me go to my full PPR. Okay, between Cortland Sutton and Devin Neal, I have Cortland Sutton ranked higher in a full PPR. Next question, pick 2 between Neal, Allen, Aaron Jones, and Higgins. Between those available options, it's going to be between Aaron Jones and Neal, I believe, as the 2 highest ranked. Not going to play Keenan Allen. I'm not going to play Jaden Higgins. Neal would be the highest ranked there. So we're going to diversify a little bit here. Play Sutton in this league and play Neal in the other league. Roy, thank you. All right, continuing on, we had a question from Mar Parker. Says, full PPR. Out of these 4 running backs, can you rank them? by who has the most upside and who has the safest play. Okay, yeah, absolutely. In terms of the highest upside of this group of players, I think the highest upside, technically speaking, revolves around Jaylen Warren. He has the highest upside of production. Next highest would probably be Kenneth Walker, then Judkins, then Gainwell. Then I would say in terms of the safest floor of production, it goes Walker 1, Jaylen Warren 2, Gainwell 3, Judkins 4. Okay? Again, let's take that from the top. Again, in terms of highest upside, Warren, Walker, Judkins, Gainwell. Highest floor, Walker, Warren, Gainwell, Judkins. Full PPR. Thank you. Luis Perez sends in a question. Says, I have Mechie, but I really want to flex Booty. Oh, that's a good... I mean, look, that's not a bad option. I'm going to be honest. I think that's a solid potential play in this circumstance. Because, again, if you're taking on the New York Giants... They have a lot of potential receptions and one-on-one coverage. He could make one singular play and score a touchdown. It's very much so a high likelihood in which he could, comparatively to a lot of other receiving options. As of right now, Kayshon Boutte is my number 38 ranked wide receiver. So I do have the potential of John Mechie pretty relatively higher ranked than him, but I could justify the idea of playing one over the other, considering, again, it's just a matter of who's scoring that touchdown. But in terms of receptions, in terms of yardage, all that kind of category, I think Mechie is the preferred of the two. Because, again, it's so difficult to predict touchdown potential. James Grover, 9260, says, in a PPR, Tracy or Vidal? In a full PPR scoring format, I have Kamani Vidal still ranked higher than Tracy. As for Ladd, Tet, or Marvin Harrison, I would play Ladd McConkey there. So I'm playing both of your Chargers, Vidal and Ladd. Thank you. All right, let's hear it. Dejon Davis sends in a question. Thank you very much, Dejon. Full PPR, rest of season. Would you drop Rome Odunze for Franklin, Parker Washington, Christian Watson, or Shakir? I, in a full PPR, would probably have Shakir on roster. I'd honestly, Shakir, Troy Franklin, Christian Watson. I think any of those three, as of this moment, based on what I've seen of late from Rome Odunze, justifies the consideration. Obviously, Rome Odunze has potential. But the upcoming matchups of having to take on Green Bay twice in the next 3 weeks is not the greatest overall position, but it's not terrible either. It's just purely going to be a matter of can they get him more opportunity of quality. And really at this point, what Khalil Shakir can produce on a weekly basis in a full PPR, coming away with games of like 6, 7, 8 receptions, it's just way too much opportunity share for me to ignore that. With the volume of touches that, again, Franklin's been exposed to in terms of 9 targets per game on average, Christian Watson's becoming a touchdown machine of late. I feel like all three of those options are viable enough to play over Rome going forward. But Shakir would probably be my priority there. As for your next question, full PPR rest season, I have Nico, Olave, Zay, Rome. Okay, so we're just getting an idea. Would you drop Zay or Rome for Franklin? I mean, honestly, just off of recent production, I don't mind the idea of having a Shakir and a Franklin comparatively to a Zay and a Rome, considering they're playing better and I'm ranking them higher. So just off of the fact that on Wednesday's wide receiver rankings video, I had, Shakir and Franklin substantially ahead of Zay and Rome, it kind of speaks volumes as to the potential retention of their value for rest of the season, to which I'd consider it definitely. And I probably would pull the trigger there, considering we know that we're going to play Nico and Olave rest of the way. But again, if you're going to just leave Rome and Zay on your bench and picking up, Franklin and Shakir are also just going to stay on your bench, I would just keep what you have. I'd only pick it up if you're actually going to roll them in. Bucky Dent, 1960, says, torn between Hendy and Ibuka. I'm projected to lose 41% to 59%. Thanks. Between the two of them here, I think regardless of scoring format, I have to play Henderson. I think the upside is definitely on his side. In the event in which, again, you're taking on the Giants defense that is allowing 6.33 yards per carry on average. I understand that the offensive line's a little bit banged up, but I would assume that the backups can still do a sizable enough job to where Henderson can find those lanes. I think the volume of touches to which Henderson will be exposed to, it's a little bit of a safer option, and I think he has the greater potential for upside to score that 20-plus point margin, to which when you're losing or projected to lose by this volume already, I think Henderson's the way in which you kind of go ahead and close the gap. Thank you. Luke sends in a question. Says, start 3 wide receivers in a half PPR. Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, Justin Jefferson, and Wan'Dale Robinson. Genuinely, half PPR scoring format, I think I probably position it to... Let me see where I have Wan'Dale comparatively. Okay, so here's my idea. I'm thinking if I'm in your position, I just play these three. As of right now, on screen, the rankings have it as Wan'Dale Robinson, one spot ahead of Marvin Harrison. In the case in which you could just encapsulate the entire wide receiver value of Arizona, just in the same way in which we would do it theoretically with like playing Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery or Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker in the same lineup, I think playing both Marvin Harrison and Michael Wilson, there is a justification there just to encapsulate all the value. Again, they could dig into each other's workload. So if you wanted to avoid that, you would play Michael Wilson, JJ, and Wan'Dale Robinson. But I think, in my opinion, the suggestion I would give you would probably be to play both Arizona receivers and JJ this week in a half PPR. Thank you. Brian sends in a question. Says, in a start two wide receiver circumstance, full PPR, Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, Jameer DK, Tedoroa McMillan, and Jacoby Myers. Tedoroa McMillan and Cortland Sutton are my two highest ranked, and that's my suggestion in a full PPR. Brian, thank you. Zeus sends in a question. Says, too many leagues, brother. A few more questions in the chat. No problem. Okay, a couple more questions in the chat. Let's see if we can pop this open. Here we go. So, it says full PPR. I need a flex between Tyler Warren, Waller, RJ Harvey, Jameer DK, and McLaurin. RJ Harvey's your highest ranked. Clear and away. That's your auto start there. Full PPR, need a flex between DK, Aaron Jones, Sean Tucker, Alec Pierce, and Waller. I'd play DK Metcalf out of that group. Next question, Keenan Allen or Bam Knight in a full PPR? I believe I'm going to play Bam Knight there. Yes, I would play Bam Knight. I think that Keenan Allen, again, he's a solid 6 to 8 fantasy points. In the event in which he scores a very lucky touchdown, fantastic. Otherwise, I do believe that it is a more, in my opinion, a little bit more of a, I would say, safe play to lean in the direction of a Bam Knight with no Benson or DeMercado in the mix. Next question, Bucky or Olave? If Olave is active, I'm playing him. Next question, Marvin Harrison versus Olave or Bam Knight? Between those available options, I'm going to lean towards Olave as the highest ranked as well. No more questions. Thanks for the support. Thank you, Zeus. I appreciate it, my man. Alrighty, continuing on. Again, for those of you guys who are joining us on this wonderful Sunday morning, again, we've been here for about an hour and 20 minutes. We've still got another hour and 40, so I'm trying to get to everyone's question. Thank you guys for being so patient over the course of today's live stream. Again, as I've mentioned before, and I'll continue to reiterate, the rankings on screen are up to date as of this morning. So if you guys have any questions in regards to the specific player individual rankings between their positions of the remaining that is available, I wanted to go ahead and share a couple of the plays that we're putting together via Betr today. Again, I'm sure many of you guys are wondering, because over the course of the last couple live streams, we've had a bunch of specific asks. Andrew, where are we rolling in terms of specific plays? I got to log into my Betr account real quick here, and then we'll be good to go so I can share those out with you guys. So in regards to a couple of the plays, let's pop this up on screen. What I want to do in this circumstance is just turn this off. Perfect. So in the YouTube chat's in the way. Okay, in the case of the plays that I'm putting together today, this is the way which we're going about it. First play of the day, Woody Marks more than 1.5 reception. CJ Stroud has an incredibly higher check down rate in comparison to Davis Mills. Expect for Woody Marks to surpass this number very easily. Tyjae Spears has completed more than 2.5 receptions in 6 of the last 6 games. Pretty obvious start in that circumstance. Then we have Jacoby Brissett, who's averaging 50 passing attempts per game over the course of the last 3 weeks and has surpassed that number sizably over the last 3 games. So I'm going more than 37.5 passing attempts for Jacoby Brissett against the Baker Mayfield-led offense in Tampa. And then we have Taysom Hill going more than 19.5 rushing yards over the course of the season. Specifically in the last 3 games, has had 17 or more rushing yards consistently. This most recent week, not the greatest overall out-trot of opportunity, but in the absence of Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill in his career has been a dynamic threat. This is a 6x multiplier potential play for today. And then the final other play that I went ahead and put together, Bo Nix more than 1.5 passing touchdowns against Washington's defense that has allowed that has allowed 2 or more passing touchdowns from opposing quarterbacks on an incredibly sizable basis as of late. And then we have Khalil Shakir with the expectation of Dalton Kincaid missing this week, going more than 4.5 receptions, and Kyron Williams anytime touchdown. I understand that there's a little bit more of a higher likelihood in which Puka Nacua and or Devontae Adams score, but I think this offense scores enough times to where they get the love in the direction of Kyron on the goal line. Thank you. All right, that'll be the plays in which we're putting together as of this week. Again, if you guys want to put together your own plays, you can use code Andrew, get a free $10 today, and do so via Betr. Thank you very much. And of course, do so responsibly. Okay, let's go ahead and let's pop the YouTube chat back open, and then subsequently after, let's pop this back open, and we're good to go. Took care of that. Perfect. Okay. We continue on with the next question that comes in from Siobhan Walker, who says, Oh, let's go back up there. Siobhan Walker, sorry about that. Siobhan Walker says, with Harrison Jr. playing, do we trust Michael Wilson or should I start Kincaid? I don't think Kincaid's playing, guys. Again, from the last that I heard, Kincaid, they elevated a tight end off the practice squad, to which I think Kincaid probably ends up missing. So as of right now, I don't even have Kincaid projected on screen because as soon as I saw the report in which they elevated the practice squad tight end, it led me to believe that he's most likely going to miss this week. So as of right now, I would probably think that again, you should probably trust Michael Wilson. I trust him more than Marvin this week. And then as for your next question, it says, I'm starting Franklin and Mechie, but I'm thinking about chasing the upside with Slayton. Need a win? Thanks, big dog. Yeah, I think there is potential with Slayton. But I will say, I don't love the matchup against Christian Gonzalez, who's played incredibly well against opposing cornerbacks this season, and that'll probably be the potential matchup. There could be a conversation in which Christian Gonzalez shadows Wan'Dale Robinson over the course of this game, but I think it'll probably be a Mechie-delivered kind of matchup. I think you should play Wilson, Franklin, and Mechie, and that's the way you should go about it. Thank you. All right, Raymond sends in a question. Says, risk playing Olave or start Ibuka and flex Woody, Sutton, and Chris Rodriguez. Okay, so of your availables, let me see where I have Woody and Sutton comparatively to Olave. What's your scoring format, Raymond? Let's see what you have here, brother. So yeah, earlier we talked about playing Ibuka, and there wasn't really a mention of scoring format. If I go back to earlier this season, do you ever mention scoring format? You never mentioned it. Okay. Oh, yeah, you did. In 2024, you played in a half PPR league, so maybe you still play in a half PPR? Okay, so in the event in which you're still playing in this half PPR function, let me see where I have Woody Marks comparatively to the field of like an Olave and potentially Ibuka. Yeah, as of right now, I have a pretty substantial gap between Olave and the field of options you have between Woody Marks, Cortland Sutton, and C-Rod. So if it's me, I would play Olave. Is it a risk? Absolutely. There's always a risk in every play. In the case in which you want to avoid that risk, I think your next best option is to play Woody Marks if you're not willing to roll Olave today. Thank you. All right, Big Swole 6367 says pick 2 in a full PPR. Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, Travion Henderson. My 2 highest ranked are Nico and Henderson, and that's what I would suggest that you play this week. Thank you, Big Swole. All right, Kaizen 671 says full PPR. Flex Tetaroa or RJ Harvey. I'd much rather play RJ Harvey in a full PPR. Thank you. Good matchup for RJ. I think it's an incredible matchup for RJ, and I think this is the breakout game of his season. I understand that earlier this year he had a couple games in which he scored touchdowns and was able to vulture, but I think more than ever today he's going to have himself a very high workload share and have himself his potential breakout performance of the season. Thank you. I'd even be willing to what is Harvey's rushing yards at in terms of on better? That's not what I wanted to do. 58.5. I feel like that number is very easily crushable in terms of the opportunities that he's going to be given. Thank you. All right. Let's see here. Cocaine Pinata sends in a question. Says McLaurin or Jawan Johnson? I'd much rather play Jawan Johnson. Again, I do not want to play McLaurin against Patrick Surtain. And Patrick Surtain is playing, so I have no interest in rolling in that direction. Thank you. All right, continuing on. We had Anthony Barrett. Anthony, long time no see. Hope you're doing well, my man. Says Wan'Dale Robinson or Terry McLaurin. Again, in the same vein as which I just mentioned, I am not interested in playing wide receivers against Patrick Surtain. Again, considering Patrick Surtain practiced at a full capacity on Thursday and Friday and has no injury designation and is starting, Terry McLaurin's in a world of potential pain. There's a reason why in my half PPR rankings that are on screen, I don't have McLaurin there. It's because I do not trust the matchup in a one-on-one capacity with Mariota at quarterback. Wan'Dale's your play in a full PPR. Aaron Northcutt sends in a question. Aaron, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Aaron says, started Swift and Flowers. Congratulations, brother. That is, Swift in itself, what a play. Flowers, again, one offensive PI call away from having a monster game, but it is what it is. Says I benchman on guy. Brother, I'm telling you, that is one of the best offensive kind of rushing games that I have seen from an offense. Instead of just having huge rip-off runs, if you guys remember earlier this year, when the Eagles put up 256 rushing yards from their running backs against the Giants, that's one of the games where I'm like, okay, wow, there's a lot of big runs there, especially the first carry of Saquon going for 50-yard touchdown, great. But in the case of just consistently gashing a defense for 8-9 yards at a time, what a deployment from Chicago. But yeah, did not expect Monungai to go for over 100, especially with Swift active, as he has not relatively been exposed to that kind of opportunity of late. It says, I have Dowdle, Diggs, and James Cook in. Would you start Addison, Keenan Allen, or DK over any of them? I wouldn't. As of right now, of your availables, I think Diggs and Cook are must starts. I think Dowdle, comparatively to the group here, it would take a lot for me to play Addison, Keenan Allen, or DK over Dowdle. I think there's just a little bit more safer floor from Dowdle that he has presented. So I'm going to go in the direction of saying the roster which you currently have between these three is the correct approach. Thank you, Aaron. Romance33 says, yo, Wan'Dale Robinson, Devin Neal, or Aaron Jones half PPR? Let me see where I have Wan'Dale comparatively. Okay, so as of those available options, I'm going to play Wan'Dale Robinson there. That's my highest ranked potential player in a half point per reception format there. Romas, thank you. 5779 says, Standard League, in first place, planning long term. I want to pick up Brenton Strange. Should I cut Hurts, Achane, Jalen Warren, Nakua, JSN, Chase, Goddard, Bowers, Dart, Harvey, Monungai, Kareem Hunt, Kenneth Walker, Wan'Dale Robinson? Okay, brother. What I see here right now is that you have three quarterbacks. Unless you're playing in a super flex format, you don't need three quarterbacks. Therefore, I would probably look in the direction of cutting one of either Burrow or Dart going forward. Otherwise, I would say Goddard is the cut. Because I think I would probably rather start Brenton Strange in this circumstance going forward. Otherwise, again, I think in this case, the best available cut outside of that would be one of your three quarterbacks. If you're playing in a super flex, you don't cut any of the quarterbacks, and your immediate casualty is Goddard going forward. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Pollux, World of Entertainment, thank you very much. It says full PPR, Rodriguez or Michael Carter. In a full PPR scoring format, I have Rodriguez one spot ahead of Michael Carter, number 25 in comparison to number 26. They're back-to-back in my rankings. Again, because of the overall receiving utilization of which Michael Carter has been exposed to as of late in terms of total receptions, he's been relatively solid in that category. And in the absence of Amari DeMercado and Trey Benson for another consecutive game, you would assume he's going to be able to maintain that kind of value. So at what Michael Carter has produced as of late, specifically in the last two games, I believe it's like 7 to 8 points. Yeah, he put up 7.8 and 8.8 fantasy points in the last 2 weeks. In comparison to what Chris Rodriguez could theoretically accomplish in garbage time, etc., the potential of a goal line touchdown, expanded workload, I think it is, in my opinion, a safer option to go with Chris Rodriguez there. But if you wanted to just take the potential floor, I think Michael Carter is a solid play. But personally, I lean towards Chris Rod there. Thank you. All right, Zeus, we took care of that earlier. Thank you very much again. Appreciate that. Nathan Gutierrez sends in a question. Nathan, thank you. Says, this is my team just in case. We have RB, Jones, Hunt, Stevenson, Neal, Rashee Rice, was that? A. Brown, I'm assuming is A.J. Brown instead of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Mooney, Dortch, tight end is Henry, quarterback is Mahomes and Brissett. Thoughts? Okay, let me expand this full question. Okay, here we go. We have actually a way more context-lit question. Okay, so it says, hey, Andrew. 2 past trades, I want to know what you think about them now. You mentioned that it wasn't a good one. London, Gadsden, Myers for Ray Davis, A.J. Brown, Williams from the Lions, 5 and 7. As of late, yeah, considering the London injury, being able to get A.J. Brown and Javonte Williams, Jameson Williams, the tides have turned substantially. Now, I think I remember answering this question and the reason why I wasn't keen on the potential was because I was worried about you losing Gadsden and having to play Hunter Henry rest of season, which I still believe is a big issue for you. So hopefully we can replace that going forward. But I think, yeah, obviously what A.J. Brown and Jameson Williams has done as of late, and is, of course, London missing time with the injury, substantially is in your favor. So a second trade, Derrick Henry for Aaron Jones and Hunter Henry. Yeah, I didn't like that one at all. That one made me sick to my stomach. Trading away Derrick Henry for Aaron Jones and Hunter Henry, just as bad as it gets. But this is my team, for context. So second question, I picked up Neal. Okay, so obviously, again, I still don't like this trade, but I mean, this trade has obviously worked out in the best possible potential action. Second question, I need to pick up your thoughts between Neal, tight end because of this week's bye. We have Kate Otten, Kincaid, Barner, TJ, or Taylor. Of those available options, let me see where I have in terms of NFL Week 14 matchups. Of those available options there, I don't mind the idea of playing Kincaid, assuming he's available next week, as Buffalo would be theoretically taking on... Where's the Bills matchup? Bills will be taking on the Bengals, yeah. So Kincaid will be the pickup for Week 14. I think that's the correct approach there. But again, I think obviously A.J. Brown and Jameson Williams has pretty much washed away any concern of late. Okay, let's see. A couple of the reports as of this morning. As of officially, we have Baker Mayfield active, Marvin Harrison active, Bam Knight active, Chris Olave active. As expected, all those guys ready to roll for us today. Thank you. All right, Daisy, if you do, sends in a question. It says half PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Okay, Daisy, what do we have here? It says Franklin, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Warren, Tracy Marks. Okay, so 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. My highest ranked wide receiver of this grouping, I believe, is either going to be Troy Franklin or Wan'Dale Robinson. So between the two of those, I have Wan'Dale Robinson 2 spots ahead of Troy Franklin. So Wan'Dale would be the take there at wide receiver. And then in the flex position, I believe I have, let's see here. Jalen Warren is probably, Jalen Warren would be the highest ranked player at flex. So Warren and Wan'Dale would be my go in regards to that first league. As for your second league, half PPR, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. McConkey, Tetaroa, Jalen Warren, Vidal, Michael Wilson, Neal. Okay, out of those available, double wide receiver, I'm playing McConkey and I'm playing McConkey and Michael Wilson. Then I'm flexing Jalen Warren and Vidal. As for the last question, it says standard 1 running back, 2 flex between Judkins, Jalen Warren, Tetaroa, Abuka. I play everybody except for Tetaroa McMillan, so I play Warren and at my RB and Judkins and Abuka in the flex. Final question, Franklin or Wan'Dale Robinson. In a standard scoring format, I would play Franklin. Thank you. KD55 sends in a question. This question's in the chat. Thanks for the help, man. Thank you very much, KD. I appreciate it. It says full PPR. Pick 2 between Rico, Woody, Vidal, Quentin Johnston, BTJ, and Jennings. Out of these available options, I believe Vidal has to start. Alongside of him, I don't want to play Juwan Jennings in the weather. BTJ coming off of the injury is not the greatest. Quentin Johnston's decent, but am I going to play him over Woody or Rico? That's the question. Let's see here. Let's see, Johnston. Out of him, Woody, and Rico, I do have Rico Dowdle ranked the highest, so I'd go with Vidal and Rico as my 1-2 combo there. As for your follow-up, also, would you drop Strange for Waller in a PPR? If you're going to utilize Waller as a backup option, sure. Otherwise, I prefer Brett and Strange in a full PPR scoring format as of this week. Let's say, for example, you're like, Andrew, I already have Trey McBride as my tight end 1. I'm just trying to stash, not stosh. Maybe you're on a stosh. I don't know. I don't even know what that is. So if you want to stash a potential backup in the case of an upcoming week or maybe something of that exchange, sure, we can stash Waller. But otherwise, I think if you're starting one, Strange would be the answer. Thank you. Sick with it sends it a question. Says, I need clarification. In a tight end premium league, Vidal goes nuts every other game, and it's his last game before Hampton comes back. Probably going to try his ass off. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, look, in terms of the way that which I have it projected, I would like to believe that, again, if we can come away with Oronde Gadsden doing what he typically does, and what I mean by that is when we look at his production in terms of the beginning of the season prior to that injury game against Pittsburgh, his production was relatively consistent in the idea where it was like 68 yards and 5 receptions minimum. So if we take that 5 times 1.5 plus, let's say 6.7 points, we leave ourselves with 14.2 base fantasy points in that 4 consecutive game streak. Then he gets injured against Pittsburgh, and then against Jacksonville, they get blown out and they have no substantial offense because they pulled the starters. So in terms of baseline of production, the floor of Gadsden is so substantially high that I feel like if he's able to find himself the touchdown utilization in which he has with his red zone targets of late, and then additionally has himself any sort of extra additional bump up of production because of the yards after the catch capabilities, I think that floor of 13, 14 points getting to 20 could very easily occur. Now, I understand Vidal has been great every other game, but that inconsistency is what scares me, to which I'd rather in a tight end premium roll with the likes of someone like Oronde Gadsden in this week. If you want to play Vidal, I don't think it's a bad idea. Again, I have them so closely ranked in a full PPR. I had Vidal 2 spots ahead of Gaston, but I do believe the tight end premium lips him over the edge. Thank you. Prohibit sends in a question. Says in a full PPR, I need a flex between McLaurin, Judy, Knight, Trey Tucker, Jaden Higgins, Parker Washington. Pick one, just a couple of points. Okay, so I'm not playing McLaurin. I'm not playing Judy. I'm not playing Trey Tucker, Jaden. Yeah, so it's between Parker Washington and Bam Knight for me. Between the two of them in a full PPR scoring format, I currently have Parker Washington ranked 4 spots ahead of Bam Knight. So I would play Parker Washington in a full PPR scoring format out of the available options there, Prohibit. Thank you. Appreciate that, my man. After Prohibit, we had a question that came in from, here we go, Josh Hahn, who says, start only one. Kenneth Walker, Kenneth Gainwell, Michael Wilson, Troy Franklin, PPR. Of the available options, my highest ranked is Michael Wilson, genuinely. The order in which I would rank these players, number 25 in my flex rankings of the remaining players is Michael Wilson, 26 is Troy Franklin, 30 is Kenneth Walker, and Gainwell's 37. So 24, 25, 30, and 37. They're so closely ranked to one another. Again, it's a close call, but I would rather play Michael Wilson out of the group. Wilson 1, Franklin 2, Walker 3, Gainwell 4. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. All right, Christy Holmes, 2068 sends in a question. Christy, thank you. Says, good morning. Half PPR, flex Judkins, Vidal, or Justin Jefferson? That's a good question. I think I'm going to lean towards playing Kamani Vidal against the Raiders defense. Let me see if I have that correct. Yeah. As of right now, in terms of my projections, I have Kamani Vidal as my highest ranked of the group. That's where I think the upside revolves around. Again, he's had himself a lot of high upside performances in comparison to having to hope that Judkins falls into the end zone or Jefferson has a decent quarterback. I know that Vidal's matchup and the opportunity share is going to be very much so plentiful, so I'll lean in that direction. Thank you. All right. Dejon Davis sends in a question. Says, rest of season, pick one between Rome. Oh, yeah, we already answered this one. All right, we're good to go. Thank you very much. I think we answered this, right? So it's like Shakir and Franklin would probably be like the guys that I like to roll with in that circumstance, considering as of late what they've been looking like. In terms of their upcoming schedules, to be determined, but I like them both really much, a pretty substantial amount in comparison to the alternatives of Zay Flowers and or Rome. Mark Abdul says, happy holidays. Thank you very much. Happy holidays to you as well. Full PPR question is in the chat. It says, pick 2 of 3. Metcalf, Harvey, Judkins. Okay, full PPR. It's really just going to be between Judkins and Metcalf as to where I go with this question, because I'm obviously going to start Harvey. As of right now, I have Judkins ranked higher, so I'd go with Judkins and Harvey as my 1-2 combo there. And then pick 2 between of these 4, Metcalf, McLaurin, Aaron Jones, Neal. I would play Neal alongside of Tedero McMillan. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that, my man. Happy holidays. Logan sends in a question. Says, Franklin or Michael Wilson PPR? I have them back-to-back ranked almost, right? Michael Wilson in my full PPR is, 12, and Troy Franklin's 13. They're back-to-back. I love them both this week. I will take Michael Wilson there as I have him ranked higher in a full PPR. Bucky or Neal? I'd rather play Neal in this circumstance, I believe. Let me check. Full PPR. Yeah, I have Neal 3 spots ahead of Bucky Irving. Thank you. Nathan Gutierrez, we took care of that earlier. Kevin T, what's up? Says, full PPR, flex 2 between Vidal, Metcalf, BTJ. I need upside. Vidal has to play, in my opinion. And then between Metcalf and BTJ, it's a little bit of a tougher circumstance there because, again, I think if Metcalf finds the end zone, he is the better play. Between Metcalf and BTJ, I have them ranked 46 and 48 in my full PPR rankings. In a full PPR wide receiver interpositional rank, they are separated by 2 ranks overall as well. Ultimately, I have BTJ ranked higher. I have Metcalf ranked higher, because BTJ is coming off of injury. And that's primarily the reason why I'll stick with that. So I'll take Metcalf and Vidal there. Chris Moraga, 8171, says, in a half PPR, Diggs or Franklin? In a half PPR, I have Stephon Diggs ranked higher. Let me just confirm this. Yes, I have Stephon Diggs ranked higher. Question number 2, PPR, Pollard, Sean Tucker, or Tootin? Let me see where I have them ranked. I have Sean Tucker ranked higher in a full PPR. Number 3, PPR, Debo, Marvin Harrison, or Mooney? Marvin Harrison. Question 4, Quentin Johnston or Jaden Higgins? I'll take Quentin Johnston. Yeah, 100%. Thank you. Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you. Moving on to the next question we have. Let's see here. Meth to the man says Marvin Harrison is active. Yes. RJ Harvey or Michael Wilson? That's a really good question. Let me see where I have Harvey comparatively. As of right now, I have RJ Harvey ranked higher. Says, hey, Andrew, missed adding question in Super Chat. Michael Wilson or RJ Harvey, both 11 full PPR. Not sure what both 11 means, but I do prefer RJ Harvey in this circumstance. I think they're both fantastic plays. I have them both ranked relatively high, but I do prefer RJ Harvey in this circumstance. Thank you, Meth. All right, let's see here. We have Mr. Eric, who says, full PPR stash 2 flex rest of season. Pearsall, Brenton Strange, John Mechie. If I'm flexing 2 of these options, genuinely, I think let me look at the schedule for Brenton Strange real quick. So Brenton Strange in the fantasy playoffs takes on the Jets, the Denver Broncos, and the Indianapolis Colts. If I go look at fantasy points per game allowed by those defenses to opposing tight ends, I think we'll get a better picture as to what we can potentially expect. In terms of fantasy points per game allowed since week 5 to opposing tight ends, Denver, where art thou? The Denver Broncos. Okay, since week 5, the Denver Broncos have allowed the 9th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Then we move on to the potential of the New York Jets. 20th most points, over 10 fantasy points as well. And then the Indianapolis Colts, who have allowed the 3rd most fantasy points. They've got a really strong schedule there ahead. Now, I will say, when I look at the schedule of what the Jets and I think it just depends. Like, am I going to play Strange in the flex position? Let me see what Pearsall's schedule looks like. Because I'm pretty sure the schedule for the 49ers against Tennessee, Indianapolis, and Chicago, I think is really soft as well. In that circumstance, let me see what John Mechie's got to deal with. In terms of the Jet schedule, Jacksonville, New Orleans, New England. I think that's soft as well. Jeez Louise. If it's me, I probably... Oh, wow. I probably take the risk, and I probably go Strange and Pearsall here for rest of season purposes. Because I look at Mechie and I think to myself, is Garrett Wilson going to return? To which, if he does, Mechie's value gets completely annihilated. That's my only concern there. Because if I look at Garrett Wilson's upcoming potential projections, considering he's already missed 2 games due to the IR stint, he'll miss 2 more. He's eligible to return week 15. And for rest of season, if he does end up returning, I think that heavily impacts Mechie. So I'll go Pearsall and Strange there. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. All right, continuing on. We had a question that comes in from San Thomas. San, thank you very much. It says Sutton, Franklin, or Charbonnet in the flex. Playing Kenneth Walker half PPR. Okay, that's a really good question. I think Charbonnet we've talked about this in the past, and I think we can continue to just harp on this idea that playing both Seattle running backs is a substantial... it's a very solid play. I think it is a potential correct play in this case, taking on Minnesota, in which you would capsulate all the value. But at which I currently have it ranked based on projections. If I look at Franklin's ranking, I'm going to play Franklin over Charbonnet. I'm going to play Sutton over Charbonnet. So as of right now, I would suggest you play Troy Franklin and Kenneth Walker. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. All right, we took care of that. We move on to Curtis Watkins. Curtis, thank you very much, sir. Says, good morning, Andrew. In a full PPR, Jalen Warren or Kenneth Gainwell? I believe it's close. Let me check. As of the 2 right now, I do have Jalen Warren. Is he still ranked? Yeah, he's still ranked higher. They're back-to-back in my rankings. Genuinely, they are back-to-back full PPR. Warren and then Kenneth Gainwell right after. And then it goes Tyrone Tracy next. Says, I'm thinking Steelers will need to pass to stay in the game, which has me wanting to play Gainwell with his recent production. Yeah, look, I don't mind that. I think there is a very good potential likelihood in which, again, Kenneth Gainwell is exposed to a lot of target opportunity. I just think that the overall safety of production in which Jalen Warren provides is what I would rather bank on, rather than hoping that Gainwell gets the opportunity that he desires or needs in this case. And I think, again, there is a potential in which, again, if if Pittsburgh's defense can at least keep them in it for a little bit, Warren would probably be the greater value point, which is why I have him ranked higher. So as of right now, personally, I would suggest Warren, but I do not mind the idea of playing Kenneth Gainwell. I will say, though, the overall deployment of targets that have gone in the direction of Gainwell of late is very much so a Mason Rudolph thing. If you go back to last season, guys, when Mason Rudolph was the starter for the Tennessee Titans late in the year, Pollard and Spears were getting littered with targets. This is predominantly a Rudolph thing. So I think Jaylen Warren is the correct play. Thank you. Predator0143 says, Aloha. Full PPR. At the flex, should I play Darnell Mooney, Quentin Johnson, or Jaden Higgins? I would play Quentin Johnson there. The opportunity share of Darnell Mooney has not been efficient enough, and Jaden Higgins with the quarterback swap, I think he's a little bit sketchy. I'd play Johnson there against the Raiders. Thank you. Jay Steve 4442 sends it a question. Says questions in the chat. Thank you, Jay. Jay says, I have Vidal, but Chris Rodriguez is available. Should I drop Vidal today with Chris Rodriguez having a better prospect moving forward in a PPR 14-team league? Position limits are 4 running backs. As of right now, I would say that if you do not need to win this week, Chris Rodriguez is technically the more valuable running back for rest of season purposes. But in the case of this week alone, in a full PPR, Vidal is a must start in my opinion, in the absence of Omarion Hampton. But for rest of season, in the event in which, again, you do not have to play Vidal today, and you've already clinched a playoff spot, and you're already ready to go, and you're looking towards the rest of the season, C-Rod will be my suggestion there, Jay. Thank you. All right, continuing on, we had a question that came in after Jay was followed up by No Love Matt. Matt, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It says, I need a wide receiver too, between Mechie, Jaden Higgins, Alec Pierce, and Jordan Addison. I believe of the available, John Mechie is your highest ranked, or at least it's my highest ranked, and I think it is your best play of the available options. Again, Jaden Higgins with the quarterback swap against Charvarius Ward and Sauce Gardner, not the greatest. Pierce against Stingley and Lassiter, not the greatest. Addison with a third-string quarterback, not the greatest. I'm thinking that John Mechie's opportunity share, his deployment, the matchup, everything favors him in this circumstance. Then I need 2 flexes of any of those wide receivers, Bam, Strange, Sharps, or Waller. I think genuinely I play Bam Knight and Brenton Strange as the next 2 best. Let me see where I have Strange. Actually, let me see where I have Charbonnet as well. So in the case of which it's a full PPR scoring format, I would play Bam Knight and Brenton Strange. In the event in which it's a half PPR scoring format, I would play Charbonnet and Bam Knight. That's the way in which I would go about it alongside of Mechie. Thank you. Appreciate it. Love, Matt. Scott Green, 3686, says full PPR. I need to flex one between Vidal or Franklin. In a full PPR, let me see where I have Franklin comparatively. I have Franklin ranked higher. Yeah, I'm going to go with Franklin there. Again, the overall consistency of production we've seen from Franklin of late in a full PPR, having scored 12 plus fantasy points in 4 of the last 5 games. Opportunity over the course of those games, 9 targets per week against an advantageous matchup against Washington, who cannot cover opposing slot receiving options. This season, the Washington Commanders have allowed the most receiving yards to opposing slot wide receivers. Therefore, probably expect for Franklin to have himself a big game here. In the case of a full PPR, I prefer to go in that direction. I think they're both must-starts in this case, in a full PPR, but I do prefer Franklin because of the full PPR capacity and the ease of receptions that Franklin could haul in today. Also, do I drop Pitts and pick up Waller? I would. I don't trust Pitts. I mean, looking at his production of late in a full PPR scoring format, he's put up 4.5, 3.4, 5.8, 7.8. Over the course of the last 4 weeks, has done very little in terms of yardage counts, has done very little in terms of target counts. He's kind of become an afterthought in this offense and was relatively kind of just an after. Even this most recent game with no Drake London out there getting 2 receptions is malpractice, but that's just the Kyle Pitts MO. I think Waller's going to get himself a little bit more potential. If we're talking about someone who's coming away with 2 receptions, if I'm going to take the risk there, I'd rather take the guy that is going to get the touchdown upside. So yeah, I'm willing to make that swap, especially with the upcoming schedule ahead for the Dolphins being so advantageous. I think it's the correct play to move on from that. Caden King sends in a question, says half PPR start 2, Gainwell, Bam Knight, Devin Neal, BTJ, Shakir. Half PPR is a little bit of a different circumstance here because, again, I can't rely upon Shakir and Gainwell's receptions as much as I'd like to. But I think Shakir is still a fantastic play in the absence of Adult and Kincaid. To which, in this circumstance, I probably end up playing Shakir and Neal as my number 1 and 2 combo here. It's close that Gainwell is just behind Neal and Bam Knight just behind them as well. But as of right now, my two highest ranked would in fact be Khalil Shakir and Devin Neal there. Caden King, thank you. Brandon McDaniel, 2510, says in a full PPR, pick 3, Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Olave, Gadsden, Myers, and Tracy Jr. Of these availables, I'm not playing Myers. I want to play Olave. So the way in which I would go about this is I would like to play Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, and Chris Olave. Those are the 3 that in a full PPR I would prefer to play as of this week, Brandon McDaniel. Thank you, sir. iShine 101, what's up? Says sub Drew, pick 3. For the flex, Bucky, Neal, Quentin Johnston, Gainwell, Rico Dowdle. As of these available options in a full PPR, let's see where I have them ranked. Okay, so as of right now, full PPR. Where's Johnston? Okay, right there. Where's Bucky? Bucky's right there. Okay. The 3 highest ranked in which I have is Neal, Rico, and Gainwell. Full PPR. I'm playing all 3 of those running backs. Thank you. D-Real, 1998, says questions in the chat. Says also, okay, actually, no. There's a lot of question here. Okay, so it said, what's up, brother? If I was to get the win, I'm in first place. I started Chase Brown. I need the other 2 running backs and a flex between Genty, Dowdle, Harvey, Otten, and Fannin. Okay, so as of right now, if I'm playing 3 other, you said 2 running backs and a flex between these. It says also have Mooney or pick up likes of Hodgins, Io Manor, Mechie, full PPR. Happy holidays, London is out. So as of this moment, I believe that I would play all 3 of these running backs. So I would play Genty and Harvey as the 1-2, and I'd play Dowdle as the flex, and I would just leave it as is. If you're starting a tight end between Otten and Fannin, I'd rather play Otten this week against the Arizona Cardinals, who have given up. Let's see what the average is real quick. Since week 5, they have been torched by opposing tight ends, even though they've got one of the best in the league and they practice against them every day. Or during training camp, you'd think maybe they can figure it out against the tight end position. But as of late, in terms of the last 7 games here, they are allowing nearly 6 receptions per game on average to opposing tight ends, to which I think in the case of Cade Otton would be a probable outcome here. So in comparison to Fannin and the weather. So Otton would play as your tight end, but I'm playing Genty, Dowdle, and Harvey over all the alternative options you've gone ahead and mentioned here, D-Real. Thank you. Appreciate it, my man. Moving on to Honey Bunny 8167, who says, PPR, start to Rico, Harvey, Vidal. I'd rather play Harvey and Vidal this week. Stafford or Jacoby, I'd rather play Stafford. Thank you. iShine 101 sends in a follow-up, says, oh, my last chat, add Woody Marks as well. Okay, let's see what you have here, brother. My apologies on that. Let's just see what we have. In terms of, okay, we got to pop this open. There's a lot of questions here. So we have Woody Marks as well. Oh, okay. So that changes a lot, actually. This is a full PPR league, right? Okay, cool. So in the case of a full PPR format, I had suggested playing Neal, Gainwell, and Rico, to which when we throw Woody Marks into the mix, Neal and Woody Marks are back-to-back, but I do have Neal ranked higher. So Neal, Gainwell, and Rico are still my top 3 options in this case. Then it says full PPR flex 1 spot, upside pick 1 between Aaron Jones, Shamir DK, Trey Tucker, Stevenson, Quentin Johnston, and Cade Otton. Quentin Johnston will be my suggestion there. As for your final question, it says 12-team Superflex, pick 3 between Neal, Pollard, Bam Knight, Pittman, Genty, and Woody Marks. Need upside. Out of the group, I think your highest upside potential revolves around Genty, Neal, and playing Woody Marks. Thank you, iShine. I appreciate all the questions and appreciate the support, my man. Your boy Gator sends in a question. Gator, what's up? It says PPR, Bucky or Marks? I'd rather play Woody Marks this week. Pitts or Gadsden? I'd rather play Gadsden. Texans or Jaguars? I'd rather play the Texans. Again, I think the Texans are a very much so auto-start defense. I think, again, playing against the Colts could be a difficulty, but when you're able to do what they were able to do against the Buffalo Bills last week, I know that they have Josh Allen's number over the course of the last 2 seasons, but I think they're just an auto-start defense every week out. Jordan Henry sends in a question. Says flex, Pittman or Judkins? I'd rather play Judkins in this case. Juwan or Waller? I'd rather play Juwan Johnson. Thank you. So Juwan Johnson and Quinshon Judkins there, Jordan. Thank you. Joshua sends it a question. It says full PPR flex Judkins, Tracy, or Wan'Dale Robinson. In a full PPR, I would play Wan'Dale Robinson there. Again, in 3 of the last 4 games in which he has played with Jackson Dart, 11 or more targets. The opportunity will be there against the New England Patriots on Monday Night Football. So I would play Wan'Dale Robinson there. Floor of production, upside of production, all in his favor. C. Harles says, pick 1 in a full PPR, Trey Tucker, Parker Washington, Jaden Higgins. Parker Washington's my suggestion. Number 2 would be Trey Tucker. Number 3 would be Jaden Higgins. Again, Tucker still gets himself ample opportunity share, but I think Parker Washington is clear and away still the number 1 option of that offense in terms of the security blanket and potential, and of course the production of late. Even in the return of BTJ, I think Parker Washington still very much so a highly utilized piece of that offense that needs to be respected in the same form in which we continue to roll him this week. Thank you. Yeet World sends in a question, says standard scoring, Diggs or Ladd McConkey rest of season. I think I answered this earlier. Sorry, missed the answer earlier. Yeah. So we answered this earlier. I'm going to lean in the direction of playing Ladd McConkey rest of season. When I look at the upcoming schedule ahead and I look at the matchup specifically for the Los Angeles Chargers, in my mind, I see a lot of shootouts. When we look at the potential of the fantasy playoffs, Kansas City week 15, again, a lot of potential there in terms of a shootout. Dallas week 16, potential shootout. Week 17 against Houston, even though the Houston secondary has been one of a troubling situation. If you guys remember, last season, NFL playoffs against Houston, the best game of Ladd McConkey's career, what was it, 2 touchdowns, 180 yards, some crazy-ass number. It was an unbelievable game. Against their primary nickel cornerback, you will find success. I'm going in the direction of playing Ladd there rest of the season. Thank you. Lamosity, 1226 says half PPR Bucky or Wan'Dale Robinson. I'd rather play Wan'Dale Robinson genuinely. I think if Bucky Irving was going to get himself a full deployment of opportunity of touches, I'd feel very comfortable rolling in his direction. But considering I cannot guarantee for that to be the case, I'd rather just play Wan'Dale Robinson and play with the safe floor there. Okay, let's see here. Okay, good to go there. Good to go there. I got to just check some of my fantasy lineups. I want to make sure everybody's good to go. Perfect. Okay, continuing on. Let's go ahead. Let's hop back into the live chat. I appreciate you guys being patient. We continue on with Alucard, who says, where are the Alucard? I think I missed it. There it is. Alucard says, Rico, Judkins, or DK in a full PPR. I'm leaning towards playing Rico Dowdle there out of the available. Thank you. It says leaning DK buff shuts down tight end. They definitely shut down tight end, but the way in which the Pittsburgh Steelers deploy tight end, when they have 3 tight ends on the field at once, they're going to shut down like Freiermuth, or they're going to shut down Darnell Washington or Jonnu Smith on individual plays, but ultimately, can they cover all 3 tight ends every single play? No. So I think even in the case in which this takes place, I think DK Metcalf, I mean, shoot, they shut down wide receiver as well. It's not something that is an easy trot out there for wide receiver ones. Nico Collins disappeared last week against Buffalo. In home, no other implication. I think Rico's the play here. Outright. Thank you. iShine says, okay, so we took care of the iShine question. Franklin, what's up, my man? Long time no see. I hope you're doing well, my man. Says full PPR Mark Andrews or Goddard. Are we talking about rest of season potential? Because obviously they've both played. So in the case in which we're talking about rest of season, I really do like the upside that is presented by the schedule for the Ravens. Taking on Cincinnati week 15, New England week 16, and Green Bay week 17. Again, when we talk about fantasy points per game allowed to opposing tight ends, since week 5, Cincinnati's number 1, still at the top of that conversation. If we get a better game out of Lamar Jackson, that tipped pass doesn't occur, that leads to an interception. We score a touchdown there from Mark Andrews. In the case of the potential other games in which they'll be taking on with New England and Green Bay, New England against the opposing tight ends, again, they're allowing 11.16 fantasy points per game and a half PPR. Green Bay themselves, where are they at in terms of this overall mix? They're probably the toughest matchup of the group. But considering Goddard and Mark Andrews are both very much so kind of touchdown-dependent players, I think Mark Andrews is a little bit more of a stable play, especially as of late and going forward with Lamar. Thank you. All right, continuing on, we had a question that came in from The Gift. The Gift RF says, good morning, Andrew. Full PPR, would you start McMillan, Franklin, or Kenneth Walker in the flex? In a full PPR, I would play Troy Franklin, number 1, Kenneth Walker 2, McMillan 3. Also, which quarterback, Nix or Dart? I would play Nix over Dart. Again, like I mentioned before, for those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Click the like button down below if you haven't not yet already. The rankings that are here that are going to pop up are as of this morning. So I would play Nix over Dart. I've got a one spot ahead of each other. So as of right now, Franklin number 1, Kenneth Walker 2, McMillan 3, Nix over Dart. Thank you, Grift. Why am I... Gift, brother. Jeez, my brain. Nathan Dennison, what's up, my man? Long time no see, Nathan. Not really. I talk to you almost every week. Marvin Harrison is in. Should I start Wilson or Sutton? I'd play Marvin Harrison and Wilson. I mean, both of them are fantastic plays. I think they're both better than Sutton this week. Thank you. Ross Roberts, what's up, Ross? Says half PPR, Justin Jefferson, Olave, Walker. Ross, you've got my rankings on Patreon, brother. I would suggest you probably just explore that potentially in a half PPR because as of right now, the answer is not really going to change. I have Kenneth Walker ranked higher than Olave, and I've got him ranked higher than Jefferson. So that's the direction in which I go with. I'm playing Kenneth Walker this week. Thank you. JC Smash 00 says, hey, Andrew, in a full PPR, do I trust Jones or Darnold this week and start one? Okay, so between the two of them, I currently have Daniel Jones 2 spots behind Sam Darnold on my rankings on screen. So between the two of them, I'm going to play Sam Darnold against his former team, the Minnesota Vikings, in a revenge game in which he should be opening up a can of whoop-ass. Now, in regards to playing Deebo Samuel, Sutton, or Mechie, in a full PPR scoring format, I would prefer to play Deebo Samuel against the Denver Broncos. Thank you. Mini Augustine 101 says, good morning, Andrew. In a full PPR, 3 spots open. 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex open. We have Bam, Bucky, Keenan, Shamir, and Alec Pierce. So, of the availables you have here, in a full PPR scoring format, let me see where I have Bucky Irving comparatively to the field. I think it's sketch to play Bucky, man. I don't know. Of the availables, though, technically speaking, the way in which I would go about this is playing Bam and Shamir as my wide receiver 1 and my RB 1. In the flex, it's either Bucky or Alec Pierce here in my mind. I don't love the matchup for Alec Pierce against the Houston Texans. So I probably end up playing Bucky Irving there, genuinely. I think what Keenan Allen can present is anywhere between 6 to 8 points. I think Alec Pierce is probably in that same realm where he can very easily come away with like 4 grabs, 40 yards, come away with 8 points. I think Bucky Irving, in my opinion, I'd rather chase that potential upside in the case in which he goes off. Otherwise, if you wanted to take the safe floor, I go Bam, Shamir, and Alec Pierce. Thank you. All right, let's see here. A little drama. Says in a question, says in a 12-team full PPR, Neal, Marks, Pittman, and Mechie start 2. I'm playing both running backs there. Give me Neal and Marks. Also, I have Breece, Genty, Marv starting. It says I also have Breece, Genty, Marvin Harrison. Start one of those, trying to secure the number 1 seed. I'd play Breece Hall there. Out of those 3 options, Breece Hall is the best option as of this week. Thank you. iShine101 sends in a follow-up. Okay, we already took care of this question. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Jay, Lordstar, says, Jaden Higgins or Terry McLaurin? I'd rather play Jaden Higgins. Appreciate it. Andrew C. sends in a question. Says, hey, Andrew, in a full PPR, I need 2 at wide receiver. I've got Tedderoa, Michael Wilson, and Troy Franklin. Who would you pick? I would play Michael Wilson and Troy Franklin as of this week. I don't love the upside or potential for Tedderoa against the Rams. In the event in which he scores a touchdown, that's incredible. But in a full PPR, when we're relying on that reception count to be very much so a vital piece of the overall equation, I'm leaning towards playing Michael Wilson and Troy Franklin as of this week. Thank you. Aaron Northcutt sends in a follow-up, says, Vidal or Warren? I'd rather play Vidal. Did you answer my other question? I believe I did, but I can go back and check it out again. Your previous question was that you started Swift and Flowers. Yeah, we talked about this, and I talked about Monangai and the fact that they ran for 250 yards. Crazy game. Would you start Addison, Keenan Allen, or DK? It says, I have Dowdle, Diggs, or Cook in. Okay, yeah, you know what it was? So of these available, I'm playing DK. Yeah, that was the previous question that you asked. I think I thought what you meant was, would I play DK, Keenan Allen, or Addison over any of these 3? I didn't realize that this was a question of like individual of these 3, who would I play? Of these 3, I'm playing Shamir DK. As for your next question, I'm playing Vidal. Thank you. All right, Shane sends in a question. Shane, thank you very much. I appreciate that, man. All right, Shane Tetzlaff, 526 says, appreciate you, big dog. Questions in the chat. Thank you, Shane. Says PPR, Kenneth Walker or Troy Franklin in the flex. I have in a full PPR Troy Franklin ranked higher. Half PPR, Bucky, Bam, Jawan, Jacoby. I need a flex. Between those available, let me see where I have Jawan Johnson. Of those available in a half PPR, I do in fact have Bam Knight ranked the highest. So Bam would be my suggestion there in a half PPR. It says also upside for BTJ versus Tet and upside for Warren versus over Dowdle. I think both of those are possible. Simply they are. I think Warren in a half PPR in comparison to someone like Rico Dowdle is actually technically the correct play. In a full PPR, Dowdle just gets more receiving workload and he gets to potentially close the gap there in that overall contribution. As for a half, I think Warren is the play. BTJ versus Tet, very possible, but I've learned this season, typically not a great idea to play players coming off of injury in comparison to when you have a stud in the form of like a Tetaroa. So I'm going to stick with Tet there, and I'm going to play Warren there. Thank you. Moving on to Charizard Baller 69, who says, start 2, full PPR, Bucky, Walker, ETN, God bless. God bless you as well. Walker and ETN, let the fantasy gods first and foremost bless you today with Walker and ETN. Thank you. Joe sends in a question, says full PPR this week, Neil, Bucky, BTJ. In my flex this week, full PPR, I'm playing Devin Neal. Thank you. Tony R481 says in a full PPR, pick 2 between Woody, Neal, Aaron Jones, BTJ, and Myers. I'm playing Woody and I'm playing Neal. Those are my 2 highest ranked in a full PPR. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Legend 1K sends in a question, says what 2 would you start at wide receiver and flex out of these 3? Tetaroa McMillan, Chris Olave, or Quinshon Judkins. Out of these 3 available, if I was going to start 2 of them, I think it depends on format. I think it depends on format. In the case in which we're playing in a half PPR, I play Olave and Judkins. In a standard, I play Olave and Judkins. In a full PPR, I will take Tetaroa and Olave. Now, speaking of Judkins, I want to go see what the weather looks like in Cleveland as of today, as of this current moment. Curious what the overall weather is looking like and whether the rain or the snow has begun to kind of roll in. As of 9 minutes ago, there is literally no snow. Is it freezing cold? Yes, but there is no snow, which again, I think it potentially increases the potential of which the 49ers passing attack could find success. So yes, in this case, Judkins may get phased out based on the script, but Tetaroa, Olave, full PPR, Judkins, Olave, half. Thank you. All right, Esh sends it a question. It says Otten, Zach Ertz, AJ Barner, half PPR. I believe the rankings on screen are for half PPR, and I believe they do include Cade Otten. So in this case, Cade Otten is number 1, AJ Barner's 2, and Zach Ertz would be 3. So Cade Otten will be my suggestion there. Vomsy sends in a question. Says in a full PPR flex, wide receiver and flex, Wandell, Vidal, Woody, Tetaroa, and Michael Wilson. I believe in a full PPR, I have Wilson and Wandell as my highest ranked. I do. Michael Wilson and Wandell Robinson are my 2 highest ranked of the bunch in a full PPR circumstance. So that's the 2 that I would suggest. Michael Wilson, Wandell Robinson. Thank you. Luis Alcantar, 43-31. Says full PPR. Need 2 wide receivers and 2 flex between Abuka, Michael Wilson, Jawan Johnson, Neal, Pearsall, Washington, Rodriguez, McLaurin, and Waller. Okay. Clearing away Abuka and Michael Wilson are my 2 starting wide receivers. In the flex position, I think your 2 most valuable options, or your 3 most valuable options are Jawan Johnson, Neal, and Parker Washington. So I think it just depends on where I go with that. Let me see where Parker Washington lies in between those available options. Parker Washington is there. Jawan Johnson's ahead of him, and so is Devin Neal. So I would play Abuka, Wilson, Johnson, and Neal. Those are my 4 highest ranked in a full PPR. Odd man out is Washington. Thank you. Servance a lot sends in a question. Servance, thank you very much. Says, what's up, brother? Mooney or Higgins, rest of season? Rest of season, I'd legitimately rather have Higgins. And that's because I do anticipate for London to return and sap away all the value from which Mooney has taken over the course of this most recent week. Again, if it wasn't for that 50-yard touchdown, Mooney comes away with 3 targets in a really underwhelming game. So for now, I think considering Jaden Higgins has pretty much won the number 2 receiving role of that offense in the way that this Texans team is trending, I'd rather have Higgins on roster. Thank you. D-Real1998 says, I worded it wrong. Starting Chase Brown, I need 1 more running back and a flex between Rico, Dowdle, Ashton Genty, and RJ Harvey. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. Yeah, because I was a little bit confused earlier. I was like, We could just start them all. Let's just start them all. Might as well. In the case of these availables, Ashton Genty and RJ Harvey would be my 2 highest ranked. And Rico Dowdle would sit this week against the Rams. As for your next question, full PPR, also, do I start Mooney or pick up Mechie as my wide receiver 2? London is out. In a full PPR, I have Mechie ahead of Mooney, so I would play Mechie there in this circumstance, even with London out against Kirk. Kirk Cousins has not really favored Mooney as much as we would have liked recently. So Mechie would be the preferred between the two. Thank you. All right. Jal 8210 says full PPR, Vidal, Fannin, Pearsall, Parker, Washington, choose 2. I'd play Vidal and Parker Washington as my 1-2 combo there. Thank you, Jal. J-All. Appreciate it. Rockout 5177 says pick 2, Parker, DK, Mechie, Knight, full PPR. Let me see where I have Parker comparatively to the crew. Okay, so Parker is the highest of that grouping. And my next highest is Chamir DK, then it's Mechie, then it's Bam Knight. I have them all in the same tier within the Flex rankings, full PPR, but the order at which I currently have it ranked is, again, Parker 1, DK 2, Mechie 3, Bam Knight 4. Thank you. Appreciate it, Rock Out. David Diaz, 3630, says, do I flex Michael Wilson, Aaron Jones, Godwin, or Jennings? Michael Wilson's my flex there. Clear it away. Half, full PPR, doesn't matter. That's my start. Thank you. JBerg01 says, in a full PPR, plus 1 point per first down, Diggs, Marvin Harrison, or Judkins. I got to go see the volume of first downs that Diggs is able to accumulate over the course of a week so that I have an idea as to where he is additionally getting points comparatively to the field. So let me just give myself an opportunity to check that out. In terms of receiving first downs of late, he gets about, okay, so this most recent game he only had 1, but then he had 6, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 8. So over the course of this season, since he's kind of taken over the wide receiver role in week 4, in terms of, let me do some calculating in terms of averages here. So divided by what is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Divided by 9. So he gets about 3.2 first downs per game. So he gets an extra 3 points in that circumstance. And then if we look at Judkins' first downs per game, I'm actually curious about that. Because I'm going to lean towards Diggs as like the opportune number 1, unless the first down count is going to be crazy for someone like Quinshawn, which I don't think it's going to be. His first downs per game over the course of this season, 3.3505. Yeah, so maybe he gets like 4 first downs per game on average, maybe 5 at best. But I think in the full PPR format, I think it does favor Stephon Diggs in this circumstance. So I'll lean towards Diggs there as my number 1. I need all the points I can get because of Amon-Ra. Yeah, totally understand that. But yeah, Stephon Diggs will be my suggestion there. Jay Berg, thank you. Rockout sends in a question, says DK or Marks full PPR. I believe I have Marks ranked higher. Let me confirm this. Woody Marks is my number 40. Yeah, he's ahead of DK Metcalf as of this week. I would play Woody Marks with the opportunity that he's going to be exposed to. Thank you. Smith, aka MVP. Smith, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Says full PPR, Mechie or Tucker. I prefer to play John Mechie. Starting Bucky. Yeah, good to go. I'm playing as of right now. Oh, so you're saying, oh, now I understand your question. So Tucker is not Trey Tucker. That's Sean Tucker. So you're asking if you should start both Tampa Bay running backs or play Mechie and Bucky. I would play Mechie and Bucky if I was in your position. Thank you. All right, we move on to a question from Paul who says, Gadsden or Kittle with bad weather snow game? I don't see the snow. Am I crazy, guys? Or am I not seeing it? Do we have boots on the ground in Cleveland? Because looking at the most recent pictures of this game, unless in the next 45 minutes we're about to see it roll in, of late, based on what I'm looking at on Twitter, it doesn't look like we're going to have too much of a highly implicated snow game. Like, was there snow earlier? Yes, absolutely. Is there going to be snow later? Perhaps, potentially. You would assume. But in the case of which it currently looks, it doesn't look like it's going to be too rough. Definitely going to be a cold game, heavy wind. So bad weather in that aspect. But ultimately, if that's enough to convince you to pivot off of Kittle, then so be it. Play Gadsden. Otherwise, by the looks of it right now, I'm going to still stick with Kittle over Gadsden. And actually, no, you're asking full PPR. Brother, I'm playing Gadsden in a full PPR anyway. It's only half PPR, which I prefer Kittle because he has more touchdown upside. Never mind. In a full PPR, play Gadsden. You're good to go. Sorry about that. Elise sends it a question. It says standard. Pick 3. Rico, Hendy, Marks, Bucky, Abuka. In a standard format where I get 0 points per reception, I'm playing Henderson, I'm playing Abuka, and I'm playing Rico Dowdle. Thank you. Moving on to a question that came in from Hank Hennig. Hank, thank you very much. I appreciate it, my man. Hank says the following, says, in a playoff run, do I start Juwan Jennings in full PPR? I could play Washington or Mechie, which I would prefer. Notice you have them both ranked higher. Also have Pearsall. Yeah, the reason why I have Jennings and Pearsall, or Pearsall not even ranked on the top 36 of the remaining, but Jennings moved as far down as I currently have him, is because I did anticipate a weather experience there in Cleveland. To which, as of right now, of the available options, I would play Parker Washington or John Mechie. Washington 1, Mechie 2, Jennings 3. And that's the way I would go about it in a full PPR this week. Thank you. All right, let's see here. C. Sampson, 7, says full PPR Wilson or Bucky. I'd rather play Michael Wilson. Thank you. Bearcat says in a full PPR, 1 flex, Olave, Vidal, or Harvey. Olave, Vidal, or Harvey. In a full PPR, I have Harvey ranked the highest out of the group. That's the which I would go about it. Yeah, I'm playing RJ Harvey there. Bearcat, thank you. Like the Jeans sends in a question, says, is Waller a better rest of season stash than Jacoby Myers? My wide receivers are Puka, CD, Rice. Yeah, he is. I don't think you're ever going to play Jacoby Myers over Puka, CD, or Rice. In the case in which you have Theo Johnson and Tyler Warren, I guess you could stash Waller, but ultimately, I don't think you need him either. So really, it's just a matter of like, who do you want your opponents not to have available to pick up? To which at this point with BTJ coming back, maybe Waller is the better pickup. Otherwise, I don't see you starting either of them rest of the way. I think your alternative options are already studs across the board. Thank you. Carlo sends in a question. This is full PPR. Vidal, Neal, or Rico? Out of those available, I'm playing Vidal. Number 1, Rico 2, Neal 3. Also, Gadsden or Juwan Johnson. I play Gadsden. Thank you. Mundo 2120 says Judkins or Jalen Warren full PPR. I'd prefer to play Jalen Warren. Thank you. All right, Ryan sends in a question. Ryan says half PPR start to Abuka, Harvey, McConkey. Out of those available in a half PPR, my 2 highest rank are RJ Harvey and Emeka Abuka. Those are my 2 highest ranked in a half PPR, Ryan. Thank you. Smitty sends in a question. Smitty says in a half PPR, better floor of production, Quentin Johnston or Mechie? In a half PPR, I think a little bit more yardage and or potential touchdown upside is required. I prefer Quentin Johnston in that capacity. Thank you. Jennifer sends in a question. Says pick 2, full PPR, Troy Franklin, Quinshon Judkins, and Marvin Harrison. In a full PPR, I'm playing both wide receivers. Give me Franklin and Marvin. Thank you. iShine 101 says in a follow-up, says DK Metcalf or Aaron Jones in a full PPR flex. In the full PPR category, I prefer DK Metcalf there. iShine, thank you. FRS sends in a question. It says PPR flex Ted or McMillan / Sutton. Between the two of them, I would prefer to play Ted. As for your next question, you mentioned the following. You have Theo Johnson or Brenton Strange. As of those 2 in a full PPR, I have Theo Johnson ranked higher. Thank you. Moving on to a question from, what is this? Betr. I don't even know how to pronounce that, but I'm going to assume it's Turumala. B. Turumala. 1219 says Marvin, QJ, Wilson, pick 2. Play both Arizona Cardinals wide receivers. In fact, I'm so okay, so this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if I go over to Betr, their reception counts that they're currently set with, I mean, I feel like both can very easily surpass those numbers. Let me see where they're currently like sitting at in terms of projections. So if I go to Arizona versus Tampa Bay, and I look at the total, let's not do that. Arizona, Tampa Bay. I go to receptions, and I look at both Marvin Harrison. Okay, so like Michael Wilson's at 4.5 receptions. I'm going to assume he can catch the ball 5 times if he's targeted 10 times today. Then I look at the opportunity of Marvin Harrison. He's currently sitting at 3.5 receptions. I'll take both those guys going more on their reception counts. To which then if I just need to pair it up with another receiver in this circumstance, like I'll take Emeka Egbuka going higher on his receptions as well. It's currently sitting at 4.5. I'm willing to take 4.5 there. So at that point, that's another play which I'd like to go ahead and put together. I'll share with you guys on screen along with the other plays that I'm making today. just so we're all on the same page. Thank you. Now that has been submitted on my phone, I can go ahead and I log in here and I can show y'all a couple of the plays that we're making today via Betr. Just so for those of you who are wondering, again, we've mentioned it before. For those of you who sign up today using code Andrew, make that first time deposit minimum of 10, and then make a first time play within a real cash play. You'll be eligible to get my rankings every single Sunday morning for the remainder of the season, weeks 14 through 18, at full PPR and half PPR capacity, every single position, including flex. And of course, you get a free $10. So in regards to my play for today, as of the available options of plays that I've gone ahead and made. So the most recent one, Michael Wilson, more than 4.5 receptions. Marvin Harrison, more than 3.5. Emeka Egbuka, more than 4.5 receptions. I think that's a pretty solid play for a 3x multiplier. Then we have Bo Nix, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. Shakir, more than 4.5 receptions. Kyron Williams with an anytime touchdown. Then we close it out with the potential of Woody Marks, more than 1.5 receptions. Tyjae Spears, more than 2.5 receptions. Jacoby Brissett, more than 37.5 passing attempts. And Taysom Hill with more than 19.5 rushing yards. Those are the three groupings of plays that I put together today via Betr. So again, if you guys are looking to potentially make your own plays, you can do so today. Thank you very much for all the support. Okay, let's continue on with a couple questions that were sent in. I believe Barza Gaming is next on the list. Barza, 4710 says, good morning, Andrew. In a full PPR, Michael Wilson or RJ Harvey? I would prefer to play RJ Harvey in that circumstance. Let me confirm that. I do, in fact, have RJ Harvey ranked higher. That's the direction in which I would go with. Says, thanks for all the help all season. Have a great day. Thank you very much, Barza. I appreciate it as always. All right. Hugh sends in a question. I already know the name. I'm not going to read it out loud, brother. I mean, it's a good try, though. I need some points to catch up. Start one. Half PPR. Jaden Higgins, Debo, Keenan, Trey Tucker. I like Trey because he has high ceiling. Jaden Higgins, Debo, Keenan Allen, Trey Tucker, half PPR. I would play Debo Samuel. Again, like I mentioned earlier, when you're taking on Denver and you have Terry McLaurin back, and Patrick Surtain's coverage is going to be covered with Terry McLaurin one-on-one, I think the opportunity for Jaquan McMillan against Debo Samuel to be the highlight matchup of the day is probably going to be the priority. Jaquan McMillan has allowed the 6th most receptions and receiving yards to opposing slot receiving options this season. Debo Samuel functions as their primary slot. I think Debo Samuel by far and away is my preferred option of the group of available receivers you've mentioned there. Huge. Thank you. All right, moving on to Say It Again, who says Kyron or Egbuka full PPR. I believe I have Kyron ranked higher, genuinely. Let me check. In a full PPR, I'd rather play Kyron Williams. Thank you. Moving on to Trex 3251. Says PPR, start 2, Judkins, Devin Neal, Gadsden. Of these available options in a full PPR scoring format, I have Devin Neal and Gadsden as my 2 highest ranked. I think that Judkins' overall usage has to revolve around him scoring a touchdown. In the absence of a touchdown, we're in trouble. In comparison to the alternative 2 options who get themselves consistent receiving workload, again, Judkins is going to be 100% dependent on Shadur Sanders getting them into positions to succeed, which again, if the weather is going to be an impact, maybe that could help because of the rushing category. Otherwise, it's going to require the Cleveland defense to provide a lot of short field opportunities for Judkins to get into the end zone. Otherwise, I think Neal and Gaston's reception work is enough to justify them as the better play. Thank you. Moving on to Alex Songgrass, who sends in a question. Alex, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We're going to close this off because, again, it's not really showing on screen because I can't scroll further. Alex Songgrass says, Neal or Woody full PPR? I believe, based on my full PPR rankings, I have Neal 1 spot ahead of Woody. They're back-to-back, but Neal is the highest ranked because of the reception count. No snow here in Ohio yet. Okay, the fact that you mentioned yet makes me think that eventually it will arrive. But, again, as of right now, yeah, nothing as of yet. Last night, it poured, though. Like, the images in which I saw last night were pretty substantial, to which it had me a little bit concerned about the circumstance of rolling with a potential 49er and or Cleveland Brown in this game. But seeing as to the report 1 minute ago from the field, no other implications currently within this game. Could change as the game progresses, though. Thank you, Alex, for the update. And I will play Neal there. But again, they're back-to-back ranks, so if you feel something about Woody today, I don't mind rolling that. R. Walt 2497 says Wan'Dale Robinson, Michael Wilson. Also, Judkins or Vidal. I would prefer to play Vidal, and I would prefer to play Wan'Dale Robinson there. Those would be the 2 options in which I would roll with. Wan'Dale Robinson, again, in my full PPR rankings, only 2 spots ahead of Michael Wilson, but Wan'Dale Robinson and Vidal would be my primaries. Brandon DeCoste, 8078, sends in a question, says full PPR flex. Gainwell, Tracy, Mechie. I would play Tracy there, genuinely. Tracy's my highest ranked out of the 3 available. Actually, no, scratch that. I have Gainwell one spot ahead of Tracy. So the order at which I have it is Gainwell 1, Tracy 2, and Mechie 3. But you have Jackson Dart, which makes me feel some type of way in which maybe I just secure all the value of that backfield for the Giants. I think that's a decent play. Let's just go Tracy and Dart there, and let's roll with the combo in case of one stealing the touchdown from the other. Otherwise, Gainwell, as of right now, in a full PPR, I have projected higher than Tracy, ever so slightly, less than a half a point ahead of him. All right, we move on to Plan B, 60-41. It says full PPR start 1, Bucky, Neal, Vidal, Troy Franklin. In a full PPR, I have Troy Franklin ranked the highest. So Franklin 1, Vidal 2, Neal 3, Bucky 4. That's the order. Thank you. So basically, in the reverse order in which you typed it out, Plan B would be the order in which I have it ranked in a full PPR. Franklin, Vidal, Neal, Bucky. Swag sends in a question. It says, how come Marvin Harrison is ranked higher than Tedero McMillan? Because of the matchup primarily against the Los Angeles Rams. I think the pass rush of the Los Angeles Rams is going to put Bryce Young in a very difficult position in comparison to an offense in which we have seen over the course of the last 3 weeks, the Arizona Cardinals have thrown the ball 50 times per game on average. When you have 50 passing attempts going around and the opportunity of Marvin Harrison looking like double-digit target opportunity, what I've mentioned in the past and what I'll continue to harp on is the highest or the greatest way to score more fantasy points in fantasy football is getting more opportunity. And when your offense is throwing the ball 50 plus times and your opportunity share is going to look upwards of 10 targets, the case for Marvin Harrison is a lot more structured in comparison to Tedero McMillan. If Bryce Young is going to be in a world of potential pain against that pass rush, which again, they took on the 49ers, who generate one of the least pressure rates in the league last week, and he was running for his life. Imagine what the Rams are going to send in his direction. Auntie Slayer sends in a question, says, I'm sketched about Tedero and Quentin Johnston play DK. If you would like to, I don't mind it. Would I personally suggest it? No. But I could justify it because, again, I have seen DK do some amazing things of late. But again, personally, I would prefer the alternatives that you've mentioned. All right, let me see here. What is this? Okay, just following up on a couple texts here. Okay, took care of all that. We're good to go. All right, moving on. The next question after Auntie Slayer was Mean Gene 8404, who says, start 2 full PPR, Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison, or Neal. As of these available in a full PPR, I'm playing both of your Arizona Cardinals wide receiver options. I believe those are the most appropriate plays as of the bunch. Thank you. Thomas Perry 615 says Michael Wilson or DK Metcalf in a standard league. I would rather play Michael Wilson genuinely. Andrew Clark 6618 sends in a question. Says, question is in the chat. Feeling under the weather today? Dubbed, please. I'm going to try my best. Let's see what you have here. Says, I have Jackson Dart or Jacoby Brissett in a full PPR. Okay, between the two of them, as for the rankings right here, I have Jackson Dart as my number 6 and Jacoby Brissett as my number 7. I think Jackson Dart has a higher ceiling. I think that Jacoby Brissett has a better floor. So it depends on what you want to chase. Do you want to chase floor or ceiling? If you want the ceiling and you need to catch up, you play Dart. If you want the floor of production, just play Jacoby Brissett because, again, he will continue to have that as a consistent productive point every week. In regards to a full PPR, it says Marks, Jennings, Parker Washington, Debo, Fannin, Strange, Sharps. Pick one wide receiver and one flex and one tight end. As for those available options, I'm going to play Debo Samuel at wide receiver. I'm going to play Bretton Strange at tight end. And I'm going to play most likely Woody Marks at your flex. So Marks, Debo, Strange. As for your next question, Denver, Jacksonville, or Saints defense, I would play Denver against Mariota. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Andrew Clark. Appreciate it, my man. Alrighty. Magic Bell 9320 says, like the stream. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Again, if you guys haven't yet already, do me a favor. Click the like button down below. I know it takes very little effort on your guys' end. And I know, listen, as someone who watches enough YouTube videos, I don't even click the like button. I know it, okay? I probably should do it more often. But If you guys could, it would be greatly appreciated to continue to help support the channel by clicking the like button today. Thank you. But yes, I understand. If you don't want to do it, I get it. I don't even do it myself. I don't even do it on my own videos, okay? But if you guys could, it would be appreciated. Every like counts, trust me. Maybe I should like my own video. Where is it? I need to go open up YouTube. Give me a second here. See, it's going to take me about 10 seconds here to maybe open it up. Let's go over here. Let's go to my channel. Let's click on the live stream. All right. Boom. I'm number 276. There it is. I appreciate it. Thank you. All righty. Continuing on with a couple of the questions we have sent in here. Okay. So after Magic Bell, let me throw up the live stream chat there. Okay. Here we go. So Andrew Clark, we took care of. Magic Bell, we took care of. We have Random Challenger, who says, in a full PPR, give projected stat line for Woody Marks today. Woo! Okay, here we go. Let me go find it. Give me a second. So, looking at where I have it currently structured. Woody, pop up, buddy. There you are. Perfect. So, as of right now, against the Indianapolis Colts, projected stat line, 15 rushing attempts. At, let's see, what is the yard per carry? 67.5 rushing yards. And then I have him projected for 3 receptions for 15. So technically speaking, if we're talking about like a full PPR, let's say he gets to 60, let's say he gets 6.8 rushing yards. And then plus 15 receiving yards. So that's 83. So he gets an 8.3 plus 1.5 off receptions, about 9.8 fantasy points on a base level of production. Then he has the potential of a touchdown, which again, when you have like the percentage value of what a touchdown could present, it elevates him to breaking an extra 3 points of potential. So I have him at like 12.8 fantasy point, like projected as of this week, in like a half PPR, under the assumption that it's a touchdown, but I think it's a little bit of a lesser touchdown upside. So it's more like an 11.8. So in the case of this circumstance, that's what I have. Thank you. Now, again, that is probably not going to come to fruition as much as I'd like it to, because I think that the overall game script is kind of be dependent. Like, he might get more receiving workload, which would be actually more developmentally like, oh, you're talking about a full PPR as well. Okay, so if we're going to get the 3 receptions plus the 83 points, yeah, no, he's more like a 11.3 base. Otherwise, and then he jumps into like a 13.3 base in a full PPR, 13 to 15 points. Pretty decent. TPD sends in a question. Thank you very much, TPD. I appreciate it. Says full PPR, double flex format. How do we feel about Jaylen Warren's playoff schedule? Tried to move before the deadline, but couldn't. Also, weather update in for Cleveland. Okay, let me see what the upcoming schedule is for Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren's upcoming schedule for the fantasy playoffs. Miami, advantageous. Detroit, I think that's still solid. In Cleveland, earlier this year against Cleveland, had a pretty solid game himself. Not the greatest overall productive week, but still decent. So in the case of these available options, in terms of the matchups, again, I preferred the upcoming schedule that he had when we were trading for him back in the day. When he was, going up against Indianapolis, Los Angeles, Cincinnati, Chicago. I think those are the matchups we wanted to take advantage of, which we effectively have, barring the injury and all that kind of stuff. But overall, upcoming ahead with Buffalo, Baltimore, Miami, Detroit, Cleveland, fantasy playoffs, it's decent. It's not terrible, but it's decent. As for weather, again, the weather in Cleveland, not looking like much of a mess, but it probably will once we get to halftime. Howard Morrow, 2196, says in a half PPR flex, Quentin Johnston, Charbonnet, Tucker, Tootin. I think that's probably Quinshon Judkins if I had to guess. If that is Judkins, I will take Judkins there. Thank you. Bugs19 says, couple questions in the chat. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Superflex tight end premium. Lamar screwed me. I need some major upside. I can't decide between Mariota, Tua, or Cam Ward. I feel like Ward may have similar week against Jacksonville. Also, Olave, Ertz in a tight end premium. I'd still stick with Olave there. Also, Aaron Jones, Trey Tucker, or Vidal. I'd play Vidal. And then in regards to your quarterback conversation in between Mariota, Tua, and Cam Ward, between those available options, I have Tua number 1, Mariota 2, and Cam Ward number 3. I have them as 13, 14, and 17 this week. So Tua would be my suggestion at quarterback. And then I would, again, like I mentioned before, roll with Vidal and Olave there. Thank you. All right, Logan Semple sends in a question. Says, hi, Andrew. Hope all is well. Thank you. It is. Do you have Gadsden above Warren in a standard scoring league? Let's get the likes up. Okay, so here's the overall circumstance of a standard scoring format. I don't have any projections or stats for standard scoring. I only function in half and full PPR. In the case of a half PPR scoring format, yes, I would still have Gadsden. Sorry, in the case of a standard scoring format, I would still have Gadsden ahead of Warren. Yes, thank you. Auntie Slayer says, Tet over Quentin Johnston? No, I'd still play Quentin Johnston there. Thank you. Millie in my pocket says 6-6 full PPR. Is it still Bucky over Sutton? In a PPR, no. I'm going to play Sutton there. I'll play Sutton and Troy Franklin. Thank you. SRTJE11 says, Vidal or Michael Wilson full PPR. In a full PPR scoring format, I currently have it as Michael Wilson. In a half PPR, I would play Vidal. As of right now, between the two of them, they're ranked relatively close in the same tier in a full PPR, but I do prefer Michael Wilson. I think he's going to get himself the ample opportunity he has gotten of late. Obviously not to the form of 15 targets, but enough to where maybe 10 targets, come away with 7 catches. Pretty safe floor production with equal upside. All right, we move on to the next question. It comes in from Evan, who says, Vidal or Tracy? I'd prefer to play Kamani Vidal. Michael Wilson or Marvin? I'd prefer to play Michael Wilson, excuse me. Random Challenger says, what is Taysom's ceiling today? 60 yards and a touchdown. I think that's his ceiling, genuinely. Again, over the course of his career, let me look this up real quick so I can have the numbers. So let's pull this up right now. I can find it right now. I had it earlier and then I got rid of it. I don't know why I did, because I needed it for the basis. Okay, anyway, doesn't matter. I'll find it right now and I'll show you guys. If we go there, okay, so that doesn't even count. So then we have to go back to this season and then we go there. Okay, so I need to find a couple stats here real quick. 18, is that 2023? Okay. And then we go back to 2022 in 2 and 4. Okay. 2 and 4, 2022. Okay. So in terms of the potential of the one and only Taysom Hill, let me find the stats so I can go ahead and convey them really quickly to you guys. Okay. So in 2023, the 3 most recent games in which we have seen Taysom Hill play in the absence of Alvin Kamara. Okay. 2023, week 18. Oh, there it is. So he had himself in a half PPR scoring format, 9.9 fantasy points. He had himself pretty decent rushing upside. Let's find it real quick. Again, I have him as my very low ranked tight end. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, he's not like an auto start in any capacity. But in that game, had himself 6 rushes for 51, had himself in receiving utilization. As of late, getting a lot more run. He'll probably get a lot more run in this game comparatively, considering the way that they deploy him is not in the receiving category. Then if we go back to the previous season, in weeks 2 and 4, in the absence of him, the most recent game, 5 rushes, 21 yards, and a rushing touchdown. So again, there is a lot of potential in which, in the absence of Alvin Kamara, which we have seen recently, Taysom Hill gets himself pretty good rushing utilization, a lot of the goal line work, and effectively, especially as late this season, getting himself in the last 3 games here. Let me pull it up. In terms of 2025 rushing attempts, why doesn't it display it on this site, man? I have to keep doing this search. There it is. Thank you. In terms of the 3 most recent games, 10, 7, and 4 rushing attempts, he's ramping up. In the last 2 games, 17 rushing attempts is pretty substantial, to which if he can increase his yard per carry average, I legitimately think 60 yards and a touchdown is very much so capable against Miami's terrible run stop defense. Thank you. Sorry about that. Long-winded, because I had to go find the stats. Okay, continuing on. Rusty John says in a question, says, happy Turkey Day, Turkey weekend. Says in a half PPR, BTJ Strange or Bam Knight. In a half PPR scoring format, I'm playing Bam Knight there. Thank you. The Novelist, 7472, says standard, Taysom, Debo, DK, Quentin Johnston. Of these available, I'm playing Debo Samuel in a standard scoring format. Thank you. Cal, what's up? 8270 says full PPR star Wanda Robinson, Lad McConkey, Olave. As of these 3 available options, I do have it currently structured as Olave and Lad McConkey as my 2 highest ranked players. Thank you. Vision sends in a question. Says start 1 for the flex. Myers, Debo, Neal, Keenan. Debo Samuel is probably the play in a full PPR. In the case in which is a half PPR, I'm okay going Devin Neal there. Thank you. ZK946 says, happy Sunday, Andrew. Let's go hard work for this week 13. Yeah, a lot of work this week, but it's okay. One step at a time. Again, we're trying to make the playoffs. Again, that's the whole point. So I'm willing to put in as much hours as I can and sleep as little as I have to ensure that we get there. It says, which 2 do I start between Bucky, Emeka, Lad, and Olave? I would suggest playing Emeka and McConkey this week in a full PPR. Thank you. All right, D-Blow01 says in a half PPR, Michael Wilson or Devin Neal. I'll take Michael Wilson there. D-Blow, thank you. Magic Bell says you didn't answer my question. LOL, I didn't. Let's see here. Yeah, I probably skipped it. Yeah, I did. Wow. I read your name out loud, though. It says, like the stream, why Godwin over Terry McLaurin? Yeah, the primary reason is because Terry McLaurin has to see Patrick Surtain for the entirety of this game. My apologies for missing that question. I probably saw like the stream, and then I got distracted, and then it completely washed out. I would suggest you play Godwin over McLaurin, primarily because of Patrick Surtain. I have no interest in playing wide receivers against him this season, nor do I expect for Terry McLaurin coming off of the injury to find himself a high level of success in that circumstance either. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Austin, who says, hey, Drew, Judkins, Abuka, T-Mac, pick 2 PPR. I would play both Tedero and McMillan and Emeka Abuka in a full PPR. Thank you. Dylan Feeney sends in a question, says, Dowdle or Tedero and McMillan in a full PPR? I have them back-to-back. You said, I don't know if I trust the Panthers run. I mean, I don't trust anything about the Panthers on a weekly basis. So as of right now in a full PPR, I do have Tedero ranked higher. 1 spot ahead of Rico, though. Thank you. Not Steve Rogers, 7410, says full PPR, Michael Wilson, BTJ, or Judkins. I have Michael Wilson ranked the highest there, Steve Rogers. Thanks, man. Go BMX, 3091, says in a full PPR, I need 2 between Theo, DK, Malik Washington. Play Theo Johnson and Shamir DK. Thank you. Daniel Russell, 22, sends in a question. Daniel, thank you very much. I appreciate it, my man. Daniel says, would you start Michael Wilson or Woody Marks in a PPR flex? I'd rather start Michael Wilson. Thank you. Jesus Castro, 4045, says full PPR flex. Johnston, Spears, Pearsall, Taysom Hill. I play Johnston there. Thank you. In a full PPR. Justin McMillan, 9364, says, I need to drop a quarterback. I have Brissett, Burrow, and Baker. PPR. I drop Baker. I'd rather have Burrow and Brissett for the rest of the season. Thank you. Let's see here. Flux Capacitor sends in a question. Thank you very much, Flux. Appreciate that. Whenever you get a chance, type it in the live chat. More than happy to help. Alrighty, we are about 17 minutes away from the kickoff of week 13. Again, I do appreciate y'all guys coming through, supporting the channel. I'm not sure what the likes got up to on this live stream, but I'm hoping that we had a little bit more than the 276 in which it was when I clicked it, if that is possible. Where are we at now? We're at 350. Beautiful. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. That's very much so appreciated. So again, rankings are on screen. Trying my best to answer as many questions as possible. I see that there's a lull in some of the super chats that were sent in, so I want to go ahead and hop into the live chat really quickly after I answer Flux Capacitor's question. He said, standard league, Mooney or Bam Knight? I'd rather play Bam Knight. Thank you. So let's see. Then there was a question that came in from Ricky Retro, who said, yo, Andrew, I need your expertise. I'm down bad, but fighting for the last playoff spot in my league. If I win, I'm in. Aaron Rodgers or Bryce Young as my QB2. Oh, brother, no. Those are such bad options. Okay, yeah, between the two of them, I have to play Aaron Rodgers. I have no interest at all in playing Bryce Young. I can't do it. I can't convince myself to do it. So I would play Aaron Rodgers in that circumstance. Thank you. Murphy sends in a question, or Murph says, or Murpheezy says, pick 2 PPR, Jalen Warren, Tedero McMillan, Bucky Irving, Marvin Harrison. In the case of that question, I mean, genuinely, I probably end up playing both receivers. I think the safest play, Murpheezy, is to go Marvin Harrison and Jalen Warren. I think the PPR upside play is Tet and Marvin Harrison. Thank you. 26 Bands, what's up, my man? Says standard league pick Warren or full PPR standard, Warren or Strange. I'd rather play Strange there in a full PPR. Flex question, Abuka, Vidal, Warren, or Gainwell. In a full PPR league, 26, I'm playing Abuka there, and I'm playing Strange there. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Okay, see what we have in the live chat here. All right, so we've got a lot of questions here in the live chat. Let me just pop this open here. Actually, I can't scroll because, yeah, it's just going to be a tough look. Okay. DK, Knight, or Waller full PPR. As of right now, let's see here. Where do I have DK and Knight comparatively to one another? I have DK ranked the highest of those three that you just mentioned. DK, Knight, or Waller. I have DK ranked higher. Quarterback 2, Tua or Baker? I have Baker ranked higher. I'll go in that direction. Tua or Daniel Jones? I believe on screen I have Daniel Jones one spot ahead of Tua. No questions. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Dan Sek. I appreciate that, my man, as always. Hope you're doing well. Anthony Pena says, start McMillan or Judkins in a full PPR. I'd prefer to go McMillan. If the weather looks like a shambles situation, I'd be willing to go Judkins there because, again, it would be more implied for rushing heavy upside. But in the case in which, again, if the weather's going to continue to stay as such, I'd play McMillan. As for your next question in a full PPR, Barner or Waller, I prefer to play Darren Waller. Moving on to Jaden Higgins or Gadsden in the tight end premium, the dream, I would play Gadsden there. Doc Monopoly was saying Jawan Johnson, Gadsden, or Kincaid. I don't think Kincaid's playing today, so I'd go Gadsden out of that group. Even if Kincaid was playing, I think Gadsden's the best option. Somebody was asking Judkins or Bucky. I'd rather play Judkins there. Waller or Schultz. I'd rather play Schultz in a full PPR. Constantino says, what's up, homeboy? Tetaroa or Rico in a PPR, thanks. I would rather play Tet. I have him one spot ahead of Rico in a full PPR. Bo or Brissett in a standard league. I have them closely ranked, but I do have Bo ranked higher on screen. Ninja was saying, I see Herbert throwing the ball deep to Johnston in LA. I agree. Neal or Shakir PPR. Humble, play Shakir there. Flex Sutton or Shakir. I'd rather play Shakir, especially with the expectation of Kincaid not playing. Would you start Franklin or Sutton? I'd rather start Franklin as of right now, especially considering the secondary of the Washington Commanders has been horrible covering opposing slot receiving options this season. Standard league Judkins or Tet. I'd rather just play Judkins there in standard where I'm getting 0 points per reception. Marks or Charbonnet. I'd rather play Marks. Jacksonville or Browns defense. It depends on weather. If the Browns weather is going to be snow heavy, I play that defense because at home they've been incredible this season. I mentioned it over the course of the last couple live streams, and the reason why the Browns defense is as high as I currently do have them. The Cleveland Browns at home this season have produced the following fantasy points of late: 16 against Baltimore, 26 against Miami, 9 against Minnesota, 14 against Green Bay. Those are the last 4 games at home. They have a home game today against San Francisco. Weather conditions could apply. Marvin Harrison, Bucky, BTJ, pick 2. If it's a full PPR, give me both wide receivers. If it's a half PPR, give me Marvin and Bucky. Let's see here. We had a couple super chats sent in, so I'm going to go ahead and get back to addressing those. I appreciate you guys sending in those questions. I'll try to get back into the live chat in just a moment. We had John, who sends in a question via super. Thank you very much. Says PPR pick 2 in the flex: Dowdle, Olave, Jalen Warren, RJ Harvey. Of those available options, I prefer RJ Harvey and Chris Olave as my top 2 options there. Next, it says I have Hendo as my second RB and Abuka as my second wide receiver. Should I play Strange instead of Warren? Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, look, as of right now, I believe that Warren, I'm not too worried about his illness. Again, this season, we've seen many players play with an illness and play well, whether it is a JSN or a Drake London. Warren will be next on that overall list, especially when Pierce and Michael Pittman are being shut down on the outside. I think Warren's going to have himself a big game here, and I would play him alongside of RJ Harvey and Olave in this circumstance. John, thank you. All right, Adriel Champagne says Olave or Michael Wilson, full PPR wide receiver 2. I would prefer to play Olave there. Again, if he's healthy, ready to go, I have no issue with it. Again, I understand that he missed practice on Thursday, which is a little bit worrisome, but I don't think they would play him unless they knew that he was going to be great and at a decent position. I know he's dealing with a back injury, which is obviously something that could be re-aggravated. So if you wanted to just pivot away, you can in the form of Michael Wilson because he's a great alternative option. But I think, again, Olave, he's just been too good on his own for me to avoid the potential there. With Marvin Harrison back in the mix with Michael Wilson, I think it diminishes him enough to where I would prefer Olave there. But I understand the potential concern due to the injury. Smalls, 9-4, sheesh Louise. I'm trying to talk so quickly that I'm starting to flub over my words. Smalls 954 says in a half PPR, pick 2. Abuka, Neal, Wanda Robinson. Of these available options in a half PPR, I'm taking both receivers. I would rather play Abuka and Wanda Robinson there. Thank you. Rye Kage sends in a question. Full PPR, Jalen Warren, Gainwell, Tracy in the flex. In a full PPR, I believe I have Jalen Warren number 1, Gainwell 2, Tracy 3. Thank you. Mo 2925 sends in a question. Mo, thank you very much. Says, would you start Franklin and Sutton and sub 1 for Tucker, Tootin, or Pearsall? I would play both Franklin and Sutton. Those are your 2 best players this week. Thank you. Life with Kobe sends in a question. Says PPR, running back, Walker or Vidal? I prefer to play Kamani Vidal. Next question, Theo Johnson or Brenton Strange? I would prefer to play Theo Johnson in a full PPR. Thank you. Alec Sander sends in a question. Says Waddle or Collins? I would prefer to play Jalen Waddle. Next question, Judkins or Walker in a full PPR? Give me Walker. Thank you. Alexander Leone, 3171, says in a 1 flex league, Washington, Jennings, Dowdle, or Johnston full PPR? I would play Rico Dowdle. Thank you. T-King4467 says pick 2 in the flex in a full PPR. We've got Judkins, we've got Mechie, we've got Higgins, Alec Pierce, and Kayshon Boutte. If I'm picking 2 in a full PPR capacity, I am playing Judkins and Mechie. Those are my 2 best plays, in my opinion. Thank you. Anthony 99157 says Vidal, Judkins, or Sutton full PPR start 2. As of those available options, I think Vidal's the must start. Alongside of him in a full PPR capacity, I do have Sutton ranked higher than Judkins. Thank you. JJG or JJ Gibbons says full PPR Tyrone Tracy, Devin Neal, Aaron Jones, Bam Knight. Tracy's my suggestion in a full PPR. Thank you. Daniel Russell 22 says missed my answer, Michael Wilson or Woody Marks full PPR. I suggested you play Michael Wilson there. Thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was going through a lot of those questions very quickly, so I may have been a little bit too quick on that. If you'd stepped away for a half second, I probably skipped over it. My apologies that you weren't able to hear that. All right, Run sends in a question. Says Abuka, Neal, Warren, or Gainwell. I need 2. If I'm playing 2 of those options, I'm playing Abuka and Warren. Thank you. Matt Glore, what's up, my man? Says full PPR, Jalen Warren or Marvin Harrison. In a full PPR, I'm playing Marvin Harrison there. With Brissett, I'm stacking the 2. Thank you. Lil sends in a question. Or Lilelo. No, Lileo. There it is. That's what it is. Lileo says, Tyler Warren versus Houston or Sutton versus Washington? Really good question. Let me see where I have. It depends on scoring format, I think, but let me see where I have them in a full PPR. As of right now, full PPR, I have Cortland Sutton ranked higher. Let me see for a half PPR. Half PPR, it's Tyler Warren. So in a full PPR, Sutton, half PPR, Tyler Warren. So it just depends on format. If it's a standard, I'll also go Tyler Warren there. Thank you. Alrighty, slowly but surely catching up. Again, we're about 7 minutes away from closing out today's live stream. Daniel Caps in the live chat was saying, Andrew, in a full PPR flex 2, Sutton, Aaron Jones, Woody, Tyler Warren, and Mooney. Of those available options, I believe your 2 best plays are probably Sutton and probably Woody Marks in that circumstance. Let me see, what do I have Woody comparatively? Yeah, Woody Marks and Sutton will be the go-tos in a full PPR in that circumstance. I think Tyler Warren could be the option as well. But I do have Woody Marks and Sutton ranked higher. Let's see here. Jose in the chat was saying Breece Hall, ETN, Michael Wilson, pick 2 PPR. I'd play both running backs if I was you. I'd play Hall and ETN. Keenan Allen or Bam Knight full PPR. I prefer Bam Knight. Jaden Higgins or Gadsden full PPR, tight end premium. I mentioned this before, Dream. I'd suggest you go Gadsden there. I answered that about 5 minutes ago. Let's see here. Jalen Warren, Gainwell, or Henderson. Pick 2. Out of those available, I'm playing Henderson and Jalen Warren. All right. Chris Rosado says, rest of season, Goff or Knicks? I'd prefer to probably go with Knicks, considering I don't know the status of Amon-Ra St. Brown going forward. Says, would you drop either for Mike Evans? I would be willing to drop Goff. That's fine by me. But it depends on the event of which, how long is Amon-Ra out for? Do you not even rank Pitts? Yeah, I don't rank Pitts. No. Again, I don't see the recent production of Pitts makes me want to play him. I'd rather play literally 20 other tight ends this week over him. When I say 20, besides the top 16 that I have mentioned there, all the tight ends that played already this upcoming Thursday and Friday, or this most recent Thursday, Friday, whether it was Kelsey, Ferguson, all those guys, Mark Andrews, etc. All those options I preferred. Let's see here. Week 13, let's go. Yeah, almost there. Says, am I playing Neil or Rico in a full PPR? In a full PPR, Rico Dowdle's there, and I have him ahead of Neil. Let's see here. Rams or Chargers defense. The rankings on screen should be able to answer that. It's going to pop up here in just about a half a second or so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come on. Load in. I do have the Rams as my number 2 and the Chargers as my number 3 defense this week. Thank you. Purdy or Cam Ward? I prefer Purdy, especially if the weather keeps up as not being too much of a problem. Mechie or Jaden Higgins this week? I'd rather play Mechie. The rankings are on screen. What's up, Andrew? Am I crazy for starting Tucker over Bucky in a half PPR? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's crazy, but I think, again, if it gets to the point to where Tucker is a more valuable position, it's because they're running the ball heavily in the second half. Jalen Warren or Michael Wilson? If it's a full PPR, give me Michael Wilson. If it's a half, I'm okay with just rolling Warren there. Let's see here. Flex, Bucky, Quentin Johnson. This is from Swollen. It says Bucky, Quentin Johnson, or Woody. In a full PPR, I have Woody ranked the highest out of the group. Sutton or Bucky? I'd rather play Sutton. Richie Moreno sends in a question. Richie, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Richie says the following. Says half PPR. Pick 2. Bucky, Woody, Bam, Wilson, Shakir. I genuinely, half PPR scoring format would play Michael Wilson. And let me see where I have Shakir comparatively as well. I have Michael Wilson and Woody Marks as my 2 highest ranked out of those available options there, Richie. Thank you. Nathaniel Samuel, 8498, says in a full PPR, pick 2, Kyron, Etienne, Henderson. As of right now, full PPR, I have it ranked as Kyron, Henderson, then Etienne. So Kyron and Henderson are my suggestions. Thank you. All right, Mark sends in a question. Says half PPR, BTJ or Tyrone Tracy. I'd rather play Tyrone Tracy. Thank you. Joseph Mai in the chat was saying both full PPR, first team choice, 1 flex, Rico, Diggs, Bucky, Shakir. In the flex, full PPR, I'm playing Diggs. Second team choice, 1 wide receiver, 2 flex, Ted, Sutton, BTJ, Bucky, Judkins. I would suggest you play Tetaroa McMillan and Sutton as wide receiver 1 and 2 and Judkins in the flex. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate it. Flex Mooney or Pittman in a full PPR. Let's see where I have them ranked. In a full PPR, I have Pittman 1 spot ahead of Mooney. Juwan Johnson or Bam Knight full PPR. I'd rather play Juwan Johnson there, Jake. How are we feeling about McLaurin? I don't love it. Again, Patrick Surtain, guys. Do I want to play him against Patrick Surtain? I don't feel it. Mechie or Higgins? I'd rather play Mechie. Tet versus Justin Jefferson. I'd rather play Justin Jefferson. Full PPR, Debo or Judkins. I'd rather play Debo. Sutton or Kittle in the flex. I'd rather play Kittle. Thank you. Alrighty, we have effectively caught up. We're about 2 minutes away. Kate Otten or Vidal. Got to play Vidal there. Absolutely, without a doubt in my mind. Without a doubt. Full PPR, Dowdle, Neal, or Bucky. Start 2. I'd rather play Dowdle and Neal in a full PPR, genuinely. It's hard to sit Bucky, but again, with a full PPR basis, it makes it tough for me to outright blindly start him there to where I can just trust him outright, especially when the organization is saying, oh yeah, he might not get too many touches, etc., etc. Full PPR, choose 4 between QJ, Wandell, Jennings, Aaron Jones, Michael Wilson, Higgins. Okay, Michael Wilson's 1, Wandell Robinson's 2, Quentin Johnson's 3, Aaron Jones is 4. McLaurin pulls hammy and will be out this season. Brother, he's done that almost every game this season. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. That's why you don't hold out in training camp. But, I mean, again, he got his money, right? So that's good enough. We'll take it. Emeka or Sutton, I'd rather play Emeka. Vidal or Michael Wilson, full PPR, I'd rather play Michael Wilson. Would you say Wandell Robinson is still an auto start with Dart? Yes. In 3 of the last 4 games, he's had 11 or more targets with Dart. So, Dart knows how to get him the ball. So, I'm not too worried about him. Do you think any of the Colts wide receivers are worth starting, even with Daniel Jones' injury? Again, I think they're still worth starting because anything could happen on any single day. So I think they're still worth starting because of the opportunity share that they may be exposed to. And I'm not too worried about Daniel Jones because I think the organization would have shut him down if he was a liability to himself. No love for Higgins today. I mean, look, the overall kind of quarterback swap on top of what do you mean no love for Higgins today? Don't I have him ranked in my top 36? Am I crazy? Yeah, he's my number 30 wide receiver. What are you talking about? He's on screen. He got paid to go on vacay this season? Yeah, I guess so. It is what it is. All right, guys. It's 10 a.m. I appreciate y'all. Much love. That's going to cover for me today. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Happy holidays. Enjoy the leftovers. And that'll be it. Enjoy the football. I'll see you guys tomorrow for waiver wire pickups, and probably tomorrow night for some waiver wire potential conversations post week 13 after the Monday night game. But that'll be it for me. Thank you everybody for watching. Enjoy your Sunday game. We're going ahead and queuing the double helix. Until next time, tomorrow, I'll see you guys. Peace.